Welcome to the Small Council. We are so happy to have you here today. We're going to be talking about Season 6, Episode 1, which I believe is entitled The Red Woman. My name is James Johnson. This is my channel. I'm here with some wonderful people. As you can see, we had a fan, a person who comments quite frequently, do this wonderful painting of us. As you can see, we've got everybody up here but Clare Gray. I'm going to see if we can get that fixed, but isn't this lovely? It's just beautiful. Anyway, we're so happy to have y'all here. So, again, my name's James Johnson, and my video's messed up, but we'll fix that in just a second. I'm going to introduce some people. This is CharlieInWesteros, who we're so freaking happy to have here. Charlie, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey folks, it's CharlieInWesteros, and I'm glad to be here once again with the Small Council, I think for the third season in a row, which is pretty awesome. You can find me at CharlieInWesteros on YouTube. Also, Charlie de Westeros if you want to watch my French videos. I am supposed to be doing a French one hopefully tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. That's basically it.
Wonderful. And Charlie's hailing from Quebec and looks a little dire wolfish right now with that coat on. This is my lovely mother, LaDonna. Mama, why don't you say hi? You got to unmute it first.
Hello, folks. Good to see you all. I love you guys. We've been chatting this up for 30 minutes before we got the links in. So, hello, folks. We're going to be into rock and roll it tonight.
As I mentioned, we unfortunately do not have Clare Gray on the painting, but I will figure out a way to fix that. This is the wonderful Clare Gray and Maester Payne. Why don't y'all say hi?
Hey everybody, it's Maester Payne. Glad to be back for another season with James of Thrones and the Small Council.
Hi everyone, it's Clare Gray, millionth of my name. Let's do this.
Is that actually a family name, Clare?
Yes, it's a family name.
Oh, wonderful. And the brilliant Niko, the particle physicist, the one who learns us in all the eccentricities of physics. Say hi, Niko.
Hi, I'm not a particle physicist, maybe one day. Hello from Padova, Italy. I'm Niko, aka Tina Foyle, and you probably know me from the Small Council discussions for a long time now, right? Mm-hmm. And also you can find me on my channel Tina Foyle. I'm cooking a video, so it's going to be up soon after this discussion. So thank you for having me.
Well, don't burn it. Nobody likes char-grilled videos, but I know yours are going to be killer. And if anybody needs links, they're all in the bottom. Next, we have the beautiful TeeBaby. Say hi, T.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me again. And before I introduce myself, I just want to say I love you all and I can't wait. You can check me out on my channel. I have a few videos. Also, I'm doing Clash of Queens this Saturday. You can check me out with Sweets and Christina. We're just going to have fun. So I hope you guys can check us out, and I'm excited.
So am I, TeeBaby, and I know that all of you have been waiting for this. The one, the only, the Don, Tony Teflon.
Uh-oh. Man, you know who it is, the Don Tony Teflon. I'm happy to be back with my Small Council peoples. You know what I mean? And happy to get up in this episode and talk about a little something. So let's rock this out.
Hell yeah. And I'm so grateful to have all these people, by the way. Just so you fans know, I'm so grateful to have you, but these people have been joining me for seasons of this show. I remember when we had our first tiny little one with Charlie and Maester Payne. This has been a long time coming. I'm very happy to be here again for season fucking 6. All right, so we're doing a little different this time. We're going to do a different format than we had previously. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rate the episode. We're going to rate it based on what Tony describes as the glass candles. So 1 out of 10. How do you feel about this movie? Feel free to or this episode. Feel free to put some fractions on that. But how many glass candles do you think that this episode was? And I'll start off. I feel like this overall was a 7. I put it at a 7. I enjoyed the hell out of this episode, but I put it at a 7 because it really felt introductory. So Charlie, tell me what you think.
I would give the episode, give it an 8. 8 glass candles out of 10. Like you said, it was introductory. It was nonetheless enjoyable. There were a few hiccups, some moments I didn't really understand. some parts that left me a bit speechless or surprised. But generally speaking, I thought the episode was pretty good. It reintroduced everything. A good first episode, so 8 out of 10.
And Mama?
Oh my goodness! I would. I'm going to rank it. First of all, this is Tony's idea to call them Obsidian Candles. So Tony, that was your great idea. I'm going to rank it thinking that it's an expositional first episode and just putting that as opposed to like a battle scene or something. I'd give it a solid 8. Yeah, I had some problems with it too, but for the most part, I loved it. And Dorne's always been a bitch, so we'll leave that one alone right now. But yeah, I liked it a lot.
Claire?
I would say a 6, just because it tips it over 5. I mean, basically, I think there were some good scenes and some really shit scenes, but I think the good scenes slightly outweighed the bad ones, so I would give it a 6. What do you think?
Going to me? Yeah, I'm going to give it 5 on the glass candle scale. I thought it was probably the worst episode that we've ever seen so far. That's my opinion.
All right, well, I want to hear more about that. Niko?
Again, thanks, Tony, for this glass candle thing. It's amazing. So I think I would give it a 7 because the scenes that were good were really good, but the scenes that were bad, it's not just the scenes, it's the plot, actually. So the acting was not that bad. So 7 out of 10.
All right. Feels like we're going to get a couple of long comments in the dislike. TeeBaby, what did you think?
I didn't hate this episode, but I didn't love it. And Dorne is a bitch, but she's a big bitch, so I'm going to have to say 5 out of 10 glass candles. Sorry.
All right. And Tony, what did you think?
You know, when I rate these opening episodes, I rate it as an opening episode, and I understand what they have to do for an opening episode. So I'm not judging it on what else comes this season. So based on the opening episode, it gets 8 glass candles from the dime.
That's a pretty good score. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do likes and then dislikes. This is going to give us an opportunity to just kind of dwell on the things we cared about and didn't care about. And I think it's best that we start with the dislikes because that lets us end on the happy note. So, Charlie, well, actually, I'll start. I felt like there were some inconsistencies in this episode. Charlie talked in private with us on Facebook about that, so I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. So I'm kind of stealing his thunder, but the dogs were an issue with Sansa. They just kind of disappeared. My mom mentioned that it might be that there might have even been one of the people in that fight that disappeared. In Dorne, I think that a lot of people felt like Dorne was an issue because they loved the characters. I talked to my mom about this earlier. They loved the characters so much that they didn't feel like they got that depth. And then something happened that hasn't happened in the books yet, which one of my issues with the way people have reacted to it is they say that's not what happened in the books. Well, we don't know. For all we know, the first chapter when we come back is going to have that happen. But we love Dorne, we love Arya Hota, we love Arianne, and now they're all gone. In a split second, all gone. Well, Arianne was gone already. And in addition to that, there was also seemingly an inconsistency with the ship with Trystane having the sand snakes on it. If you go find the letter that Doran read, they had it all written out, and the letter even had the word receive, I believe, misspelled, because it was written by Jaime, which was a lot of thought put into that dyslexia sort of thing. And the letter explains that Jaime sent Trystane back on one of the boats. But we don't get that in the show. So these two sand snakes come in, and I thought, are they sneaking? Did they sneak on the ship? No, they were on the dock, and it was really confusing. But if he is headed back to Dorne, A, how did these girls get on the boat if he's not off the boat yet? B, why is he making the eyes if he's not with the Myrcella, which I excuse by saying maybe it's a cultural way to get over, to mourn, basically. But overall, my dislikes mainly came from moments in the thing that kind of took me out. So, all right, Charlie, what'd you think?
I think you touched upon pretty much everything I had to say about what I disliked about this episode. I would just add, however, is that we can't really say, XYZ hasn't happened in the books yet. Because honestly, when I look at Dorne, especially this episode and the TV show itself, really, you almost have to look at them as completely separate things. It frustrates me when I see things like, what happened to Duran and what happened to Arya, Hoda, and Trystane this episode, but I've kind of reached a point where I just accepted that these characters are not at all like they are in the books. They're completely different in so many ways. At least that's how I have to kind of look at it, to kind of keep some form of level-headedness, because I'm just going to drive myself crazy if I, see it as, oh, this hasn't happened in the books yet. This is going to happen in the books. I think they're just completely different, Dorne from the books and Dorne from the show. That was one thing. The other thing you mentioned was the Trystane boat docking, or the Trystane's boat going back to Dorne. I agree with everything you said, but I was just a bit like you mentioned, the confusion with where his ship was. My understanding, and I got this from one of the reviews or from one of the write-ups online, is that the boat is actually still in King's Landing where it's docked, but it's going to be leaving. And as you mentioned, I don't really understand how the Sand Snakes got onto it when they were on the docks, but I'm not going to repeat myself, so you pretty much said what I had to say.
Okay, Mama Jamma, what you think?
Are we only doing the dislikes right now? Yeah? Okay. All of the above on Dorne, and if Charlie, I don't have any reason to doubt you in what you read, so if that's true, then there's just a whole lot of playing around with some time travel here. What I did not like was some of the dialogue between Tyrion and Varys, unless it has a subtext that we'll get into later. I thought it was stilted unless it has a subtext, again, later. One thing that I didn't like, and this is because I'm a dog lover, bloodhounds are the laziest dogs next to English Mastiffs that you can possibly have. And for me to watch bloodhounds attack Sansa, I'm thinking, those dogs are just going to slobber all over you. They should have had, we have pit bulls in my family. This is not an aspersion on pit bulls. They should have had a dog that looked a little more fierce tracking her down. I know they're trackers. I know they're hounds. But those dogs just looked like they wanted to get in Sansa's lap. And it was funny to me. I had a whole lot of really incredible likes on this scene that we'll get into later. Really, the part I had the most problem with was Dorne. I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense. I'll leave my likes for later.
All right, Maester Payne and Claire, what do y'all think? Let's start with Claire. What do you think?
I would echo what everybody else has said about Dawn. I think from a book and a show, just purely TV, watch your point of view, it's confusing to introduce so many possibilities, even clumsily last season, but then just completely shut it down. I thought the scene itself was really shocking, and particularly just taking out Aero Hotar was just like, what the hell are you, what is going on here? But I think afterwards, after everything had happened with the scene on the boat and Trystane, I just left scratching my head thinking, what there's a massive power void now in Dawn. There's no legitimacy. The complete Martell line has just vanished, and what's the point? It's confusing, and I didn't like it. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty much everybody's saying the same thing. Dorne would probably be the worst of my dislikes. I can't really think of many just off the top of my head. I'm sure I have.
Well, you said it was the worst episode ever. Why is that?
Because it just doesn't give us anything. But I wasn't expecting to list a bunch of dislikes, so I don't have them. I just can't pluck them out of the ether. But Dorne obviously is a dislike. Hotar getting killed, there's just no way he's going to go out like that. That's probably the biggest upset. That's about it for dislikes. But I will say the ship was absolutely in King's Landing. You see it twice when Jaime's coming off of it, and it doesn't leave the dock when they show it at the death. So just Charlie's right there.
Niko?
I think you all made good points. What I'm going to say, last season we complained about Dorne. I'm not going to keep on complaining about Dorn because it's so tiring. I don't care, really. We wanted it out. They heard us. They want to cut this thing, like just cut it off and be done with it. The way they did it, it was not good. I mean, but I understand what they're trying to do. The whole delivery was bad because you didn't know what was going on with the said ship. How are they on? How did they get there? They were on the pier, and then once they are now they're on the ship, and then they're coming back, and you didn't know about that. But so they Game of Thrones, so HBO had to officially posted this picture online with the letter, so we can understand that that was sloppy. But maybe we can look at it in a way that you are not just watching the show. A lot of people are googling the ship anyway, so maybe it's just filling up the gaps. Look at it that way. Don't be negative. They have a really big job to do, and none of us would do it better, I'm sure. So don't be negative. Try to understand both sides, even Martin and us, and we just need to be positive about the whole thing. So don't dwell upon, of course, the dogs scene. But let's get it over with. Be positive. Be happy for the good things, and don't be upset about the bad things. And I'm gonna make a video about this ranting online because it's just if you complain every day about every fucking scene, you sound like a 13-year-old person, commenting on Justin Bieber's photos. So that's it.
Fair. TeeBaby?
I mean, it's easy to say Dorn was the issue, but I think it wasn't just Dorn. It was just certain things that, like, up in the north, you had 5 people, I think, coming out the fence, and then it was 4, I think. And then it's like, where did the dogs go? So when I look for, like, little subtle things, it throws me off because I'm like, wait a minute, where did that go, or what happened here? With Dorn, I think the biggest issue, and it's so petty, but it's when they were showing how everyone, she was saying how, you don't even know your own people, yet they were willing to let the Maester run past them. If they would have just made a subtle move to block his way, I would have been into that scene, and it wouldn't have been so bad. That one minor detail just threw me off because it was like, that makes no sense. And then just the whole way that they shot the scenes, they didn't show you if days went past or if they just left the dock. So people are like, what's going on? Like, I watched that episode 3 times before I saw him painting the eyes on the rocks, and I was like, why the hell is he painting eyes? And then it's like, oh, and then someone, shout out to Jerry, had to show me a frame of what the letters said in order for you to kind of understand what he was reading to even be in that moment. They should have said, let him read the whole thing out loud. And then we would have been like, oh, shit, like, what's going on? But because you're giving us this after the fact, it throws us all the way off. So it wasn't even the whole Dorn plot itself. It was just these little details. And I'm just saying for me, because I enjoy it when I see, like, the little hints in their eyes or the little body postures that they do that just throws me into the scene. So when you take that away, it's like, it throws the whole thing off, and the more I try to look at this episode to figure it out, the more I got frustrated. But that was my whole thing, not necessarily the plot, but just how they executed it.
I think that was brilliant, TeeBaby, and we'll talk about it later. Tony?
Yeah, I would have to say that it basically comes down to storytelling. The way that they told the story was just disgusting. They're not doing a good job pulling it off. And if it is the reason why they did it because the fans didn't want it, then that's even worse. Because I think you have to stick to your convictions. All right, you can't go on what the fans want, or because the fans didn't like it, oh, I'm going to appease the fans. What if George R. R. Martin did that? We would not have the book that we deserve to get if he just tried to appease the fans. So to me, it shows lack of confidence if that is what happened. There's a million bad things that happen. Obviously, we know about Dawn. But Sojourner Moore, man, finding the ring with Danny. I mean, that was just terrible. Why would they even have that in there? Why would they have this guy in all this thing and be able to find that? So it's just simple things like that I think that they're missing the mark on. And the fact that they're willing to cut this season as people have said, to make it shorter. And we know how great things, such great things they have in the book that they could have focused on, that they didn't focus on. I think that's the most frustrating part of it all, and knowing that it's going to come to an end without seeing those things that they could have put in it. Because I think that they're just trying to focus mostly on the PowerPoints of the whole show and not give us the little things that make this story great. Not just, you know what I mean? So that's what I think is the worst part about this episode.
Those are all great points, and just so everybody knows, the format we're going with is then we're going to do the dislikes, and then we'll be able to generally talk about individually about all the aspects we want to, and then we'll have a real discussion, and then we'll maybe get to some questions. So the next aspect we were going to talk about was the things we really liked about this episode. So I'll start first. The first thing, it's got to be said, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be back in this world, to see these people. And despite all the things we just talked about that were bad, holy shit, it was good to see some stuff. And I cried 1.5 times in this episode. And when I say cry, I mean the way you cry in a movie. I'm not like sobbing, but I'm. So one was Sansa is obviously freezing her ass off, and Theon goes to like warm her / hug her. She has neither of these people. I talked to my mom about this earlier. Neither of these people have had an affectionate touch from anybody in the last 3 years. Neither of them. A little girl has spent the last 3 years of her life without a single touch from somebody who cared about her. The only two people who cared about her, one, Tyrion, wouldn't touch her, part of the reason he was good, and the other one was too gruff to really know what it meant. So that was just fan-fucking-tastic, and that was the half cry, which was then immediately followed by the oaths being sworn between Sansa and Brienne. That was the part where I actually cried. Holy shit, we've been waiting so goddamn long, and that's the key, Tony talking about story. When you have all this deep story, then when something finally happens, oh my god, it thrills you to know that any of these characters can die at any moment and that all of them are going to be tortured and to go through shit. To have one fucking shining light just kills me. It's brilliant. Happy to see Mel that change into that situation. Happy to see Mel with her losing her faith for a split second, although we haven't really gotten the speech that she gives in the trailer. I bet that'll be next episode. But to see her lost and then for her the reveal at the end without floating boats, I got to go back and watch the videos to know for sure. And we did have the support of Mel of hearing that the actor who played Maester, whoever the Maester was that tried to drink the wine, Maester Crescent, you were about to say it, Mama, telling us that Mel told him that she was old. We called that shit. We called that shit. Mel was old. Mel's old as shit. Tony's been saying it for a while. We've been saying it for a while. Mel's old as shit. And this lends credence to her being Bloodraven's kid with Shiera Seastar. Anyway, that was fucking banging. And when she took that off, I have a feeling every single one of us was expecting it. Photos were released prior that kind of showed that was what was up, but I didn't know whether to believe them or not. Another thing I loved was Davos with the Night's Watch. Grin and Davos, that whole situation, Davos being like, oh yes, that's a pleasant idea. I would like some mutton as well, if that'd be okay, because I can't hunt. And I'd be happy we'll converse about it, and we'll talk to you tomorrow about it. And then they leave, and he's like, they're going to fucking kill us. That was just awesome. Really enjoyed the shit out of that. And the inkling the wildlings are going to get involved. I bet Jon gets resurrected next episode. So this episode was a setup, and knowing that it was a setup, disregarding all the dislikes we had, I really feel like they're setting us on a path. Dany, all these different people are setting us on a path. I like the idea of Dany. We had it come back to her knowing languages that people don't believe she knows. I like that. What do I have written here? The episode started with that howling. Holy shit, that wrenched my heart. That was intense, and it just went on and on and on, and that killed me. One thing I really did love, and it sucks because they have to just state it, because in the books we can, as long as ultimately we lead to something that makes us realize in hindsight, oh, that's what they meant by that. In the TV show you kind of have to state it, but I loved the interaction between Jaime and Cersei, where Cersei's she thinks everything is a prophecy, and what she means by that is it's what she interprets it to be. If it comes true in hindsight, then it was a prophecy. I just didn't know it. It was a prophecy, but I didn't know it. And Jaime's like, no, fuck prophecy. There's no such goddamn thing. I loved it. And that is the beginning of them being set off from each other. So those are some things I've absolutely loved about this episode. Charlie, you ready for this? Charlie, what you think?
Okay, where to begin? Well, I guess I'll start off with talking about. I agree with mostly everything you say, James. By the way, but I think one of my favorite things was Daenerys' scene with the Dothraki. It was very nostalgic in a way because it throws us back to first season and reminds us a lot of her own journey with them so long ago when we first started watching the show. I had a few issues with it though at the same time. I probably should have brought them up earlier. I was just kind of surprised none of the Dothraki knew who she was or even recognized her, considering she's she stands in such stark contrast with every other Dothraki out there. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought maybe someone recognized her before she'd have to declare herself. But anyway, Mel's scene, loved it. I loved seeing her vulnerable. It was very, very interesting getting that in the TV show, finally. I also want to say, actually, I don't know if I should bring this up now, but it contrasts itself nicely with something we get in the books where we see her a lot younger, a vision of her past. And I thought that was interesting to get that. Get a vision of her, or her revealing her true appearance as an old woman, whereas in the books we get a sort of different, vulnerable side to her. So I thought that was kind of interesting for the show to go in the opposite direction in this scene, which I again really enjoyed. What else? Varys and Tyrion, unlike LaDonna, I actually enjoyed their little banter. It seemed very typical of them and very typical of the Game of Thrones I'm used to watching. Sansa, Theon, Brienne, of course, you nailed it, James. I love that scene as well, minus the disappearing dogs. The Davos scene where he was making those off-colored comedic remarks, I generally liked it, but I felt there was something very unique about the humor of this episode. It didn't feel typical of Game of Thrones. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it was interesting how they were making very unique jokes this time around. It was different. I can't say it was bad or good. It was just different. What else? Yeah, and also the Cersei Jaime scene. Actually, I kind of got a different view of it than you did, James. I mean, I could see them maybe finally this being the catalyst to set the two characters apart, but it really is weird seeing Jaime and Cersei still together 6 seasons in, whereas in the books, it kind of, at least from my perspective, it takes place a lot earlier where their division happens. But I think you might be on something. I think maybe halfway through this season they're going to have their little break, and Jaime's going to go off in the Riverlands, and that's going to be the catalyst of the beginning of the end for their relationship specifically. And of course, I think this is an indication that she's starting to go nuts, and we all know what's going to happen then. I think that is pretty much it for my thoughts. Those are the things I enjoyed anyway. But again, you nailed most of it, so that's it.
Thank you, Charlie. And I got a couple of notes from that. Mama LaDonna.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can't. Okay. I'm sorry, my dog is choking in the background. I can't do anything about it. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about what I really liked. Hold on just 1 second. Bodie, you're killing me.
Don't kill him, Mama. Don't kill him.
Really? He's an old man.
He is old.
Okay, can y'all hear me? I'm going to talk. Yeah, there you go.
This is my entire life, by the way. Can you hear me? Yeah, Mom, I can hear you.
Sorry. Okay. I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to get the Arya scene out of the way first. It was okay. I think that's enough of that. Pat enough. It was almost like that Paul Atreides scene in Dune where he puts the mask on and he's got to fight that little whirling thing with a spear in the room. I don't know if y'all, it's from Dune. So, okay, we all know what's going to happen with her. Warning, major spoilers. She's going to be blind for a little bit, but she's going to warg into that cat, and she's going to be able to fight. Okay, it's awakening a new sense like blind people are able to kind of get in touch with their other senses. Okay, Stark warging, yay, come on, Nymeria. And that's all I'm going to say about that. By the way, that girl who plays the Waif is really quite an unusual beauty. She plays in everything. Her name is Faye Marseille. I freaking love Davos so much. I would marry him tomorrow. I love him. He's perfect. He's wonderful. He's Davos was great in the books. He's even more marvelous in this show. Dorn, I'm not going to say a whole lot about this because I've not read those things that you saw. No, get down. But I agree with every single thing that TeeBaby said. If they had done that, it would have made much more sense, and they didn't. Go on, Ted. Okay. The Varys Tyrion conversations about, well, you know, you're not a boy anymore and you don't have a cock. That was so stupid to me unless I'm right, as I've said a few years back, that Varys is a woman. And this is his ticket.
These are the things we like. I'm going to let you do this. Okay.
If it is the subtext, I liked it. With respect to the Cersei scenes with Jaime, I love them. I want to talk about something I think is the subtext of what they were talking about. Have you ever, you remember when you saw a dead body the first time? Yes, mother. I think that bloating, skin pulling back from her teeth, all that, I think is the foreshadowing for Lady Stoneheart, and I really believe we're getting her back.
I want to hear this, Mama. I got to cut you off. We're just doing likes right now. You're going to get a chance to talk about all this stuff. Go through the episode. Just tell the things you like. All right, I'm done.
I had mixed feelings on the Dothraki scene with Dany. We'll see. With respect to the howling of the wolf, now I know in the books Ghost doesn't say a word. I know he doesn't. He's a mute. But, oh my God, the heart tugs listening to that wolf howling. Oh my God, I loved it so much. And, of course, we have the image that Davos really looked at in the ice of the blood, which we talked about last season. Like that a lot. That's some foreshadowing. With respect to the Sansa and Theon scene, I just thought, I cried a million times, as did Clare Gray. I just thought it was beautiful in that Brienne scene. Oh my God. And I don't know if you all watched it really carefully, but when Sansa says, arise, and she gets, finally, after a few seconds, a slight glimmer of a smile on her face, and it posts back to Brienne, she kind of gets a smile, but what you see in her throat as an actress is she gulps down tears. How much better? I mean, is there anything on TV better than this? It was just beautiful. And I have my opinions on what happened to the dogs. We'll get into that later. Melisandre's scene, I just think was magnificent. And I really wanted to get into depth in that later. I just thought it was beautiful. Some people are, first of all, a whole bunch of people online acted like young people, where they were so shocked to see an elderly person. Well, you know, if you live to be 80 years old, I'm sorry, that's what everybody's going to look like if you don't have hair dye and beauticians and teeth, and that's what you will look like. So anybody out there who's making fun of that, I would urge you that you'll be glad if you live to be 80. And the fact that they lingered on her looking at her body for so long, like it was like, I'm going to give this up because I'm going to give up. I thought it was really heartfelt. And then she just climbs in, she kind of staggers to the bed and climbs in like an old woman. I loved it. That's all I have to say.
Awesome. Good stuff, Mama. All right, Claire, what'd you think? What's some things you liked?
A couple of things I'd say that I liked. The thing that I liked, I was just listening to STS Enterprises. I have to give them a shout out before we started the Small Council. It's three guys, kind of mainly show watchers, and what they were saying made me laugh, and I thought I have to mention it here. What they said was that you've got to give props to Shireen here with Davos, because if he'd have walked outside in that first scene and seen the traitor sign and Shireen hadn't taught him to read, he would have been stood there for fucking ages saying, what the fuck, what's just happened? So I thought that was a like for me that I just heard before we started this episode. In all seriousness though, I'm not usually a crier when I'm watching TV and things, you know. I don't get too emotionally invested in stuff. But even before we got to the vows and the beginning of Queen Sansa and Brienne as the inaugural Queen's Guard member and everything that I'm kind of seeing that's unfolding in front of me, Brienne didn't even, the second she got onto the screen, I burst into tears straight away because I knew what was going to be happening here, that she's going to be getting a vow back on again. All Brienne wants to do is be honourable, do good, and protect somebody, and she's just been handed that, which was so emotional for me. She's my favourite character, so that was a massive for me, just everything to do with Brienne being in this episode. What do you think?
For likes and apologies again, I'm not great at talking, so filling time and stuff like that's not my strong point. Charlie pointed out something that was one of my dislikes as well, which is the weird comedy that they inserted into this episode. So thanks, Charlie, for that. I agree with you. And my one of my likes is also my dislike, which is the massacre at Dorne, which, because it was so unexpected, I enjoyed it. I liked being shocked and well, I didn't see that coming. Even though I had seen the photos, LaDonna had sent me them earlier, I didn't think it was happening episode 1 or anything like that. So I was shocked, and I appreciate being shocked, so that was cool. And Cersei, knowing what good actually is and being able to see it, I thought was very good.
You like that?
Yeah. The fact that perhaps there's an argument for her where she's was hoping for a good outcome, even through all her psychotic doings and goings on and stuff. She still knew what true good actually was, so that was pretty cool. I'm done.
That was wonderful. I've got a lot of notes based on that one. Maester Payne, I think you're wrong about giving yourself not enough credit for your capability.
You know that.
Doesn't mean you're not good at it. All right, Niko.
Okay, so I'm gonna just shortly talk about all the scenes that I like, because there are many. Not many, don't worry. So the first thing I loved. First I wasn't sure, but then I realized I did love the Trekkie one-upping each other, and it reminded me of What Did Roman Ever Did For Us, of Monty Python scene. So it was kind of funny. I did not particularly like Sansa and Brienne scene, but that's because I'm not that big a fan of Brienne and Sansa in general, but I did like the hug scene. When Theon hugs Sansa, that was really good, because you see that's the first time in years, in ages, that she felt honesty from another human being, and that I'm kind of softy for this thing, so I really like that scene. Jaime's acting was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, but I have a soft spot for Jaime, well, Nikolai, as everybody knows. Now, Arya blind scene, I love that scene. It's just the fighting scene. It was really good because it was short and explained a lot what's going on in Bravo. So it was really good directing. And I'm just gonna say that if anybody of you knows this, I'm sorry, but if you don't know, if you have trouble finding something in some spot that you cannot see, the trick is that you close your eyes and you will be able to find this thing, in some drawer or something. That's a trick, life trick for you. So imagine she's a warg, so she's going to be able to do it 10 times over than a regular person. And then the last thing, the best scene for me was the Mel scene. I don't like people talking shit about, older women. It's not a pleasant sight. I'm not saying that's I don't know, Giselle, but you should be, respect other human beings. Don't be nasty on internet. It's just wrong. And it's what is wrong with you? That scene was so powerful without having any dialogue. The music was good, the acting was good, and it reminded me, when she looks herself in the mirror, it reminded me of Dorian Gray. I don't know if somebody mentioned that, but that was exactly the first thing I thought of. So amazing ending, amazing scene. Please don't be nasty. Think about what you're watching. So that's it for me, I think.
Wonderful. And some life lessons in there as well. Thanks, Niko. All right, TeeBaby.
Okay, before I do love Mel Scene, but I will say this, that if I get to be 200, 300, however old she is, you best believe that I will be walking around just as naked as she is, looking at everyone and dare you to say anything to me. So it's like, that, to me, that's me. Like, when you get to the age when you ain't seen everything, ain't done anything, that shit just doesn't matter anymore. So I love that scene. But I love that scene because if you remember the scene, season 2, episode 10, when Stannis lost the battle and he's talking to Mel, that scene where she told him, he said, you say war as if you know it. She says, I've been fighting this longer. And then even then, he's choking her and she's got her hands up because both of them have seen this battle in snow. So I do think he saw that, but he didn't realize he wasn't looking at himself or he was going to win that battle. So I do think he saw something. But he's like choking her and she's about to die or whatever the case may be. And he's like, where is your God now? And she says, it's in you. So when you go back to that scene and she touches John's face, because she's like, I thought that my God was in Stannis. No, it was wrong. And she went right back to the wall and she was like, no, it was Jon Snow. And then to touch him and he's not warm, he's cold, yeah, your faith is gone. And then it goes back to with Claire and P's video where she brought up Thoros, where he was like, I said the words, but I didn't believe it. I didn't have faith. But my friend was dying. So I said the old words. I love that scene. So I'm contradicting myself in a way because remember when I said I hated this episode because of the subtle details and moments? It was those subtle detail moments that I loved the most. I liked it with Sansa when Theon hugged her for 1 or 2 moments. She had released her elbow, her shoulders just went relaxed, and she felt safe. And then, like, you hear this music, and then next thing you know, 2 seconds, you hear the hounds, and she's just looking around, eyes alert. Little moments like that, it was like, bam, I'm into that. Also with Cersei, when the scene when she's coming, you see the back of her head, you don't see her all the way. And she says, sorry, my queen, to interrupt you. And for a second, if you're not knowing what's about to happen, it sounds like somebody died. So her face was like, what the fuck? And then she was like doing shit, and then it's like release. It was like a 2 seconds. You have to be paying attention to see it. But once you see it, you're like, oh, shit. Those little details was just brilliant. And with Sansa and Brienne, you have to go back to the season when her mom, when Brienne put her sword down and said the same thing, she looked just like her mom, just like her. And then, once again, these little subtle details, you see Sansa forget the words. She doesn't recognize. And you know, Sansa, her armor is her curtsy. So Sansa doesn't remember the words. Pa says such and such, and then she knows it. She tilts her head out and rises, and I was like, that is a queen in the making. And also, she didn't accept it until she looked at Theon, and Theon nodded in approval, and that's when she did. And a lot of people believe, like, well, why would she trust him? But Theon was ready to die, be flayed to save Sansa. He knew his death the second he helped her. So even though I didn't like those subtle details that irritated me in this episode, those little subtle details were so powerful that it just made you want to watch it over and over. So if you didn't like the Mel scene, go back to that Stannis and Mel scene and then watch it again. If you didn't like the Sansa scene, go back to that scene when her mom first did it, and then you'll be like, oh shit. And I guarantee you, you might raise a candle up on this episode or not.
TeeBaby, I just want you to know that the last video we made, somebody made a comment saying that TeeBaby's not saying anything about you, and I told them, you're full of shit. TeeBaby, you're on fucking fire. On fucking fire. No kidding. I'm not kidding in the least. You're on fucking fire.
I just give everyone a chance to say everything, because I was season 1 watching online comments, and so I knew the frustration was like, I want to hear what she has to say, but they cut her off. I mean, I'm going to get to it, so shout out to Tony, because, you know, format.
And this new format's giving you the chance to do that. Hell yeah. And Tony, tell us what you liked.
So many good things to talk about this episode instead of bad, and that's what I liked about this episode. First, I'd just like to say that I think that all of the lead actors came to play in this episode, whether you're talking about Theon's character, great performance, you're talking about Lena Headey, great performance, even I like the way the guy died, Dora Montel. I thought he looked good dying. I really did. And the Sand Snakes, I know a lot of people don't like them, but I thought their outfits looked really good. That's the positive thing I'm going to say about that, that their outfits in there, I thought they looked really good in their outfits. I really did like it. You know, as for Mel, I will say this. My grandmama 80, she don't look like that. You know, so yeah, I think that, you know, when you reach that age of 200, it is what it is. But as she's older than 80. You know, I can't give her 80 years on that one. No. But I thought that scene was really good. It was really shocking. I thought that if you didn't read the books, and people who did read the books didn't see that coming, big shock that I thought they pulled that off very well. The Davos banter, back and forth with Sir Alistair Storm, 2 other actors who came to play Sir Alistair Storm. Every time I see this guy, he shows me something. I learned, so you know, he showed that whether it's the speech he gives, he states his case, why he did what he did. The guy just a great actor. Whether the fight he did earlier and the season before, just a great actor. He just shows his chops every time out. So I would say my highs is really the big actors that did a really good job of all their parts. I thought they did a really good job projecting their characters and showing everything out there. So that is my big highs for this episode.
Hell yeah, Tony. That's a great fucking point. All right, so now we're going to do a general discussion, but we're going to take, not general discussion, sorry. Everybody's going to get their chance to talk about whatever the fuck they want. Then we'll have general discussion. So I'm going to talk real quick, and I'll just get this stuff through. All right, so we talked about Mel and her faith. And just real quick, because we're doing the new format, it's different, and I'm aware that we're planning on getting to discussion, but this makes it easier and we don't interrupt each other and we get straight to the point, so we're going to try to do it this way. And, of course, we will have some discussion at the end and maybe some predictions and then some questions, and we should be quicker than we've ever done this before. All right, so we talked about Mel and her faith. I mentioned to my mom that if you are a believer in anything that doesn't really have evidence but you believe it, hope is the thing that's closest for me. That when you have doubt, when you are in your deepest moments of doubt, one of 2 things happens. Either you switch to a different conclusion, or something happens that makes you believe harder than you ever did. And for people who believe based on faith, all it takes is one moment for them to come back. And if they come back harder than they've ever come back. And that's what's happening with Mel. She is as down as she's going to get, and in the next episode, she's going to be so down she's going to be lost. And she's going to think that this is all over. And there's going to be people banging on the fucking door, and she's going to think this is all over, and Davos and the rest of those guys are going to be ready to fight to the death for no real good reason. And or the other people, no real good reason. And Mel's going to get on the ground with the same thing Thoros, without any belief that anything's going to happen. They were the only words I knew. And it's going to cut to the back, and they're going to be banging on that door, and that door is going to open. Everybody's going to be like, what the fuck? And John is going to walk out. A guy named Thunderclap, who's commenting in the comment section, said, Snow White. And I don't think we've thought about that. Snow White. Jon Snow White. Something to think about. All right. So, something else. Trystane gets stabbed in the face with a spear from the back. That is Doran's sigil. A son getting stabbed with a spear. Thought that was worth saying. All right. Something about this television show allows us to empathize with people on opposite sides of the same argument, which makes it so that we can have a scene where we simultaneously feel like, what the fuck? That's sad, and I'm angry about it, and also kind of happy about it. When Trystane gets stabbed in the face, I'm like, what the fuck? Partially because I was a little shocked that any of this happened in the first place, but Doran had just died, so I was already in that place. And I loved what you said, Maester Payne, about the shock being one of those things that thrills you even when you don't like what's going on. And that just goes without saying for these entire books. The Red Wedding, Ned's death. These are horrible things, and you don't like them for different reasons. We don't like some of this stuff because we just disagree with the way people are writing it or filming it or acting it. But when those scenes happen, so in that scene where Trystane gets killed, I was like, what the fuck? And then one of the girls, I forget which one, says, you're a greedy bitch. And I thought that was fucking hilarious because it's their character. We don't have much character development with them, but that's what we're watching. That's their character development. All right, so we need to talk about this, and other people need to comment on it. A lot of people are talking about, and Charlie even mentioned it in our discussions as a discussion point, that Melisandre takes off the rubies and she's no longer beautiful. Well, that's inconsistent with her when she's in the bath with Selyse because she doesn't have it on and she's beautiful. To me, it's not so much, it is the rubies that are giving her that power. But if y'all remember in the books that when Mance Rayder is glamored as Lord of Bones, when he takes off the bones, he becomes shorter, not quite as stocky, but he's still Lord of Bones. So to me, and the rubies especially, it's more about, it's a phylactery, and it's not a phylactery. A phylactery is the thing that a Lich King puts his soul into, so that you can't kill him, he can continue to be resurrected, because his phylactery still exists. So you've safeguarded your soul, it's not in your body. Your body dies, you're still alive. You can resurrect and refill it. So that ruby to me is not the end-all, be-all of her being able to look young. She takes, at this point though, her doubt is filling her. She just like Tinkerbell, you gotta believe to give power. Mel has no power because nobody believes in her. And she doesn't even believe in herself. So she takes the thing off. That was the last semblance of any power she had. Just like Sauron. Sauron has a fuckload of power, but the ring is the thing that's guarding the main thing of his power. One ring to bring them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all in the darkness. Find them. One ring to... I fucked it up, but I'll figure it out in a minute. So, another thing I got to say on that is this is the first time in this entire series that we've seen glamoring. The first time. I am steadfast in my assumption, and I know you all disagree with me, but Mance Rayder is still fucking alive. Mance Rayder is glamored as Tormund. And this is the part where they just showed us that that's possible. You know, I was shaking y'all's fucking head. Wait for it. All right, Mama mentioned the comment between Tyrion and Varys about the penis. That... I understand why it threw you off, Mama, because it's really fucking random, and Tyrion's not one to make fun of people. At the same time, he's in a strange place, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's just being playful. He is that kind of witty, playful guy, and the only one he has to talk to is Varys. Not entirely, but Varys is the one who understands him. The reason that scene is important is because when we find out, and I'm not taking any credit from you, Mom, but I gotta put my own credit on that too. That's me too. That's not just yours. That's mine too. When we find out that Varys is actually a woman who had her clit and tits cut off, that scene on rewatch is Varys biting her tongue. You don't have a penis. Dude, I never fucking had a penis. It's part of the reason I was never able to get power. But I gotta keep my mouth shut. Oh, and Tyrion, we had a couple of situations in here about misunderstandings. One of those is Tyrion, which I love. Tyrion's trying to give this lady money. If Varys had not been there, Tyrion would have not known what the fuck just happened. I tried to give this lady money to take care of her baby, and she wouldn't take it. No, because that lady thought you wanted to buy the fucking baby to eat. She thought you wanted to eat the baby, which, by the way, is what the White Walkers do metaphorically. So, another misunderstanding we had was with Doran. They kill Doran because they don't think he's standing up for what's right, particularly because he didn't try to avenge his sister's death and rape and the murder of her children. And they're right about that. Partly. We didn't get it in the TV show, but he says, "Oberyn is the snake, and I am the grass in which he hides." So it's not to say that he is telling Oberyn to do this, but he's not without recourse. He just doesn't want war. He says that repeatedly. He says that repeatedly in the books. He does not. You don't know what that would mean. I don't want to bring that on my culture. What we witness is an entire regime change in a split second. Not Dorne. Somebody mentioned. I can't remember who it was. Mentioned that we don't have an heir. Yeah, we do. Dorne's brother Oberyn had children. The Sand Snakes. Those are the heirs. Females are allowed to rule in Dorne. So without Doran, without Trystane, without their sister and those children, Aegon, by the way, Trystane dies, Aegon is arguably the ruler of there as well. We watch a regime change like that. Doran wants peace because he knows what it means, what war means. He's been there. He also might know about Lyanna, and his entire community thinks he's weak. Probably partly because he's disabled, crippled, bastards, and broken things. He probably partly didn't fight because he doesn't think anything bad happened. I mean, it happened to his sister. I know that. I'm completely aware of that. But this war happened for all the wrong reasons, and it ended on his own soil when somebody realized what was actually happening. Am I on? Okay, it's everybody's not moving. All right, so one thing that killed me about Doran, I didn't put this, is that we did not get Doran standing up. There's so much of Doran that we did not get. The last season didn't give us. And when it cuts to Doran and he's walking, oh my God, that killed me. It was such a lot. That means it's not a big deal that he's standing up. He's not going to stand up and say it. It's just fucking killed me. So I just needed to say that. MP, you mentioned that the same ship being going. I think, did we lose? Tony, you're still there, but I feel like, oh, we do. Okay, it's just I'm talking, so everybody's being still. So you mentioned that there was one ship. I disagree. There were multiple ships, and part of that justification multiple ships taken from Dorne to King's Landing. In this letter, which was never shown on television, and I believe that it was their intent to, in this letter, it says, this is the letter from Jaime to Doran. The Princess Myrcella died by poison on our return journey. I suspect Ilaria, not you, but my sister will demand war. I doubt Ilaria's head will appease her, but it's a start, along with your nieces. Your son cannot stay in King's Landing. I am sending him back on the same ship. So that letter clarifies it. We just didn't see it in the show. By the way, look, he misspells nieces. He misspells nieces because he's dyslexic. So I just felt like that had to be mentioned. TeeBaby, I completely agree with you about those details. That was just well said. It's those tiny little actor details that make this shit so fucking lovely. I need to stop this. That make the fact that it's television, not books, so lovely, because the more that David and Dan sit these actors down and tell them A, B, and C about their history, they have an opportunity to make so much more out of what would appear to be so little, like Varys' reaction to the penis comment. And Tony, you mentioned that it's all about storytelling, and that's what we're missing in Dorne. It's not storytelling. It was an introduction, and then they kill a bunch of people. So, it's a short script of what happened to the Starks. Ned Stark, and he's got some kids. Nope, it wasn't actually about Ned Stark. It was about the kids from the get-go. I think they were actually supposed to show that letter, by the way. They just can't dwell on a letter without taking you out of the scene. They did it with Jon last season, and it worked fairly. I actually did feel bad for Cersei. But at the same time, while I felt bad for Cersei, what I really saw was her desire for vengeance upon the world. She's going insane. That's what I saw, even though I felt bad for her. I mentioned Thunderclap saying the Snow White thing. That was genius. Thank you for that. Alistair's speech. Tony, you mentioned it. I completely fucking agree with you. That dude came to play. That guy is a fucking good actor, and his speech was powerful. It's exactly what I was talking about earlier. We completely disagree with his choice. We agree that he's a murderer. But when he gives that speech, you got to give him credence, especially the clincher of what his speech was, which was lovely, and the way he delivered it was lovely. But the clincher was, I have no doubt that Jon Snow thought what he was doing was right. But it was wrong. that was just fucking beautiful because it's all about your interpretation. Goddamn, what a brilliant actor. And Claire, brilliant about Davos reading Traitor. Fucking brilliant. Didn't think about it, and thank you for that. Side note that just dawned on me while we were talking, I mentioned that to me the Green Seer throne is kind of like the brain and Winterfell the heart. If you add an I to Bran, it is brain. Just random thought. I mentioned the shock. TeeBaby, you mentioned that Sansa lowering her head on Theon, how poetic that was. Just those tiny little things, one thing to another. It's not just delivering your line and making that one motion. It's the feeling and things that result from it, and knowing what that character's thinking when all she does is this. I mean, it's deep, and it was followed by something that I thought was beautiful, which when Brienne lays her sword down and asks Sansa once again to take her in, Sansa, for a split second, turns to Theon and then turns back. Like Theon's opinion mattered to her. That's huge. That's what I got. Yeah. All right. Charlie, you want to go next? Do it.
Sure. Alrighty. Where to start? I have a lot of stuff written down, a lot to respond to you, James, a lot of stuff to respond to what people said earlier, and some of my own thoughts, actually. I think I first want to start off by saying I think it's important we distinguish between the show and the books, once again, because keep in mind we have 9 episodes left this season, and I think we have something like 13 or 14 episodes for seasons 7 and 8, and that's basically it. So I think we have to keep in mind that there's only so much they can introduce or so much they can include in the show that they can't that will be in the books, but that won't be in the show, if that makes any sense. So I think a lot of what you're saying, James, might very well ring true for the books. There are just some things I'm not sure they'll have necessarily time or they'll be able to spend the effort focusing in on. And I guess I'll go over those things since I brought that up first. Little joke here, but I mean, you mentioned the Mance Rayder still alive part. Does that also mean Roose is still a Lich, since you mentioned the Lich thing? And did Sansa still kill Joffrey? You can talk about that after if you like, but I thought that was one thing that I should mention since you brought up the Lich part, and I completely forgot about that, actually. Another thing with respect to my point on the 13 episodes left, plus the 9 in this season, it revolves around warging, because I know we've seen, obviously, Bran warging, so we know it's in the show. Where I'm starting to have some doubts, and I only really have them for this starting this season. Before, I didn't think it would be an option at all, but because we're coming so close to the end, I do wonder, and this does go to LaDonna's point, I do wonder if they will have the other Stark children warg, because so far it seems like they've really tied that into the powers of Bran Stark as a Green Seer. So I don't know if they're gonna change that whole part up in the shows, because obviously in the books it's a different matter. Just something to think about on that. What else did I write here? Dorne. Okay, so one thing I actually noticed about Dorne, between book readers and show watchers only, is that actually a lot of show watchers quite enjoyed the Dornish scene, or at least they didn't seem to dislike it as much as those of us who read the books did. And again, that has to do with the fact that there's so much different things going on there. And I can only restate that you have to really see the two scenes differently, which I thought was interesting. That a lot of my friends who just watched the shows were kind of like, oh shit, that happened. And remember, they didn't get a chance to grow to enjoy the character of Doran Martell the same way as we have, which is why I really want to emphasize we have to look at these two characters so differently. They play very different roles in both mediums. Again, maybe in Dorne, the Sand Snakes and Ellaria Sand are the ones who will play that whole Dornish plot that maybe Doran and Arianne Martell play in the books. Just something to keep in mind there. Another thing you mentioned, James, is that bastards are allowed to inherit in Dorne. They're allowed to inherit land, but I wasn't so sure if that was the case. Again, this is books. I'm not sure if bastards are allowed to inherit, the title of prince or princess of Dorne. I believe they're probably going to change that for their show, in your defense, though, because I could see the TV show doing that just to keep things simple. So chances are I could see Ellaria Sands. No, it would probably be Oberyn's daughter. What's her name? Tyenn, who would probably inherit by that rationale, since no, never mind. It would be the oldest daughter, because those are Oberyn's daughters. So one of the two sand snakes on the boat would hypothetically inherit Dorne in that case. Sorry, I digress. Just wanted to touch on that, though. Going back to the Mel scene, because you guys did discuss it quite a bit, and this, again, it's not to defend the people who were, who had such a horrible reaction to seeing Melisandre as an old woman naked, But I do have to say, I think the scene was meant to shock, because keep in mind, for the last 3-4 seasons, all we see of Mel is this young, beautiful woman having sex. Her boobs are out. She's showing it all off. She's young. She's gorgeous. And all of a sudden, we get this old, bent out of shape old woman. So, of course, I'm sure a lot of guys who spent their after hours or after the show watching Melisandre over and over again in other ways, I'm sure that's a bit of a shock to them. And it seems like a lot of the comments online revolve around the fact that they can no longer look at her the same way as they once did. So I think that's really something to emphasize when we talk about Mel as an old woman. I don't think maybe in a lot of these cases it's because they're seeing an old woman naked. It's more so the fact that they are looking at a woman that they saw in a very different light before, and they're seeing her in a new light now. Just something to touch on. But again, James, you touched on everything about Mel, showing her vulnerability, her weakness, and I loved what you said there, so I can't disagree with you on that. What else was there? Marine. Okay, so this is a bit of a different topic, something I want to introduce to the discussion, and that has to do with Varys and Daario potentially being the leaders of the Sons of the Harpy. So I don't want to go down a long, winding road of crackpottery and thoughts like that, but this episode, seeing those two characters, did make me consider that question again.
You can go down that road.
I can?
I want to hear it.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna spend too much time, building up crackpot theories, but it has made me question what their motives are and what they're both doing. I always tended to believe that Varys was actually the leader of the Sons of the Harpy. However, the fact that the boats were burned, or the ships of Marine were burned this episode, did make me kind of question that, because why would Varys want to destroy the ships if those ships are if those ships are the tool to bring Daenerys back to Westeros, which arguably is what he wants because he is supporting the Targaryens, hypothetically speaking, as far as we can tell. So that kind of did make me wonder if either if maybe he's not the leader of the Sons of the Harpy, or maybe this is part of a bigger plot in his part. If he is, I don't know. There were a few lines that Daario had with Jorah in this first episode that made me a little bit curious as to what his motives are. That whole discussion about love and passion and whatnot. Again, I don't really want to go into the specific details of it, but it did seem interesting that that events in Marine did seem to subside a little bit when Daario left. I know that Varys made a clear statement that things have calmed down between the Sons of the Harpy and the faction in power, because that one dragon suddenly swooped in and caused chaos. But I do wonder maybe if it's because Daario left the city and maybe he's the real one orchestrating the events there as the leader of the Sons of the Harpy. Just things to think on. Other than that, and I think this is probably going to be a catalyst to encourage Tyrion to free the dragons, if he knows that dragons being around will prevent the Harpy Sons from wanting to create more chaos. But I digress. So I think those are all my thoughts with respect to what you just said, James. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So you guys can go ahead and share your thoughts next, whoever's next.
Mama, you ready?
Oh, Lordy, doing this makes us go all over the map. I want to preface what I'm going to say right now with this. I see a lot of people who are very bright, who have not read the books, or even some who have read the books, who really come up with some theories that you can certainly go down that thread, but do not make sense in terms of what is called master storytelling. And Martin has done a number of interviews on YouTube about what master storytelling is. Master storytelling does not lead us to threads that could go there. It usually leads us to threads that someone has hidden, but all the clues and foreshadowing is there to get us to that point. And I'm not an author, but I think that people need to start thinking about what their theories are in terms of not just, we've come up with some major crack pottery, but I'm not sure it's crack pottery. But when you start thinking that so-and-so's related, it doesn't make sense. Martin makes sense. And also, when we all complain about what they're doing with this visual medium of Game of Thrones on HBO, and you guys have all touched on it, while the book readers want everything to be in it, you can't do it. So in a visual medium, and a classic example is that Barristan Selmy was hidden as Arston Whitebeard for quite a long time in the books because we couldn't see his face. And because these books are written from a point of view perspective, the people there didn't know what he looked like. So it was all hidden from all of us. You can't do that when it's in a film genre. So just be thinking about that. And by the way, there's a difference between doing theater, which is kind of over the top, you want the whole audience to see it, versus film. And this goes back to what TeeBaby said. And TeeBaby, your comments were so damn brilliant. They always are, but you got your chance to speak tonight, and I think this is the proper forum to do this in. The subtle reactions of these actors shows you why they were cast in this. Again, you can see Brienne's throat swallow when she's trying not to cry with Sansa. TeeBaby, you brought up some great points about looking at Cersei's reactions and other people's. It's brilliant, but we need that in a visual medium to get the emotional impact. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, I agree with you and have always agreed with you for at least the last year that Daario is the Harpy. Remember, he got sent away for a while by Daenerys when he was kind of in competition with Jorah, and she sent him away and said, you know, tell him it's your idea, not mine. They're in competition. Okay, I think he's the Harpy. He's a bad guy. He was with the Second Sons. He's out for himself. He's always said he's out for himself, and he wants Dany to be in power because she controls the dragons. But he wants to be there by her side doing it. That's why he's going to get her. But he will betray her. Dany has a series of 3 betrayals in the books that are prophecy. He's one of them. Jorah's a goner. I don't know how long. I mean, Grayscale, you can live 10 years with Grayscale depending on how it advances with you. We don't know how long they'll be around. He may give Grayscale to Tyrion. There are so many gargoyle references in these books with respect to Tyrion that I don't know what will happen at the end. We'll see. With respect to the Sansa and Theon being touched for the first time in a long time, really 4 years, I think, in a loving way, and that slump on the shoulders, you're so right, James and I talked about that earlier. It was, oh my God, thank God somebody is taking care of me. It's not because she's weak. She was not given the tools to be a fighter, and she was not kind of programmed to be a fighter. She's just not that kind of girl. But to see her, God, just subtly go there, that was wonderful. But there was one time, and this is what I'm going to point out, there was one time where she was touched in a loving manner, and it was in the deleted scene between Sansa and the Hound. When Tyrion, and it's at the very end of that scene, he's real violent with her in the beginning, but at the end of that scene, he's holding onto her arm gently like a lover right before Tyrion comes down the stairway, the winding stairway, and he lets go of Sansa's hand very gently, or as, what do we say, James? Not violently or whatever, the way Martin says it.
She's talking about not unkindly.
Not unkindly, meaning kindly. And that's in the books over and over again with Sansa and the Hound. It's hilarious. I do want to say this. For any of you all who are still speculating about whether or not Melisandre is going to bring back Jon, I'm going to show you something now. Now, this is a major spoiler. I'm not sure you guys have seen it. James hasn't seen it.
Hold up. I need everybody to unmute themselves real quick. So she's about to show something that will, I haven't seen it, but it's supposed to be something from later in this season. If a single person objects, we're not doing it. We can put it in the description. She's about to show it up there.
I'm not sure that people listening would maybe not want to be spoiled.
Yeah, I'll put it in the description. But you can't talk about it.
Well, they're going to see it soon because somebody I don't even know sent it to me. So it's out there. It's going to be on YouTube soon.
The commenters see it.
I'm losing you all. Can y'all mute your microphones microphones for a second?
Charlie, mute yourself. There you go. Okay, go ahead, Mom. You're not going to be able to do it. I know you want to, but we can do a private video about it.
Okay, it'll be out there in the next day, but that's fine.
That doesn't mean that people have to see it. Just because it's out there doesn't mean they have to see it. I understand where you're coming from. It's a spoiler thing. Go ahead. Sorry, Mama.
That's okay, honey. I get it.
Everybody in the comments are like, show it, show it.
Are they really? They're like, show it? All right. For anybody who doesn't want the spoiler, don't look. And that includes anybody that's on the bottom. So she's going to talk. Mom, I'm going to give you, it's 8:52 right now. I give you 3 minutes. Is that enough to talk about this?
I don't have to talk about it. I'm just going to show the picture.
All right. Nobody look if you don't want to see it.
Major spoiler. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Screen share, right?
Yep.
And then what? Internal display? Yeah, that's it.
Then at the top, say present to everyone.
I know. You're going to see some other things up. Don't worry about it. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Y'all
I
talk.
will have to scream just for a second. Ah, cool!
That was good.
Okay, Mama, you're going to have to get rid of it, and if you want to make any comments about it, do it now, because these people are going to...
Okay, am I out now?
You are not. You've still got me up on your screen. There's a thing at the top of the screen that says stop. That's what you're going to click. Stop.
I don't see anything that says stop. Cancel. How about that?
Nope. What a clusterfuck.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think I need to say anything else. But can you hear me?
There, you're back. Yes.
Am I back? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm going to say about that is I don't think that's very surprising to any of us. But there it is, so everybody can stop speculating about what's going to happen. What I find curious is I think that John is already inside Ghost. It's supported by the books when the last words he says before he dies is Ghost. You know, Rob never got the chance to do that because Graywin got killed before him. So I think he's inside Ghost already, and I think his howling was, of course, anguish over what did happen to him, but also he can't get out of that wooden cage. So I think he's begging for somebody. He's trying to bite his way out. I think he wants somebody to come and, for Christ's sake, let me out and protect my body. And I think I'm right about that. Now, you know, I don't think I have anything else to say. Oh, I don't want to say this about Melisandre, about that inconsistency with her in the bathtub. She does not have her necklace on, for sure. Some people have said there's basically two ways that she could still be glamoring. She does ask Selyse to go and get a potion, and she sprinkles it in the bathtub with her. But also some other folks have said that Selyse is such a believer that she can't even see it. It's like she's so deluded in this religious fanaticism that she's going to see what she's going to see, even if it was presented to her, like, no insult, like a lot of people who are not well-educated believers, but who have simply bought into whatever families have taught them in a brainwashing kind of doctrination. I'm not against spirituality. Please don't diss me in the chat. But there are a lot of people who don't kind of investigate it on their own, whether it exists or not. I think Selyse is one of those people who are going to believe what she thought from the beginning, and that is it. So there is some thought about that. I really don't have much else to say about the rest of this this particular episode. I will say this. I think in the next particular episode, which is supposed to be entitled Home, that I think that I know that there is a scene where Cersei is kind of pitted against Tommen, and I think that he is going to take the part of Marjorie, and Cersei's going to go batshit because that's her last kid. And if they get pitted against each other, I think she will either directly or inadvertently get Tommen killed, and that will be the end of her relationship with Jaime, and that shoots her to him to the Riverlands to try and get this chaotic anarchist continent at least talking and back in control. And I absolutely love Jaime. He's one of my favorite characters, and I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you, Mama. Those were wonderful thoughts. I do consider myself a heathen, by the way, so the comments are irrelevant to me in that regard. So, all right, Clare Gray, what you think? Talk to us about this episode.
Okay. Well, we were watching it together, obviously, and at the end of the episode, we were talking. He was saying to me that, that was a very kind of women-centric episode. And then when I thought about it, and I thought, look back, it was like, actually, you can see that the power and vulnerability of women in every single scene, actually, even with Varys and Tyrion in Meereen, it's kind of the absence of Daenerys is very present in that particular scene. So I think if you look back and look at the power and vulnerability, which then made me think about rise and fall of female characters. And I think we can start to see the beginning of that in this episode. I think we'll see Cersei fall pretty spectacularly. I think she will use Jaime to kill the High Sparrow, and then she'll just shit all over him and send him off to the Riverlands. I agree with LaDonna. I think she's going to go absolutely insane. There's somebody called Callum in the comments, actually, I glanced over, so shout out to Callum, was saying that Cersei and Myrcella, her talking about Myrcella's, however you pronounce it, Myrcella, her goodness, is the last vestige of Cersei being able to hold on to any kind of decent human perspective, and this is her, basically she's going to just turn completely evil, and that's what we're going to see for the rest of the season. I think so, yeah, Cersei rise and fall, Cersei falls, Mel falls. In terms of other female characters, with rises, Sansa rising, Daenerys rising, so this is what I'm thinking about, kind of the female perspective and female characters. So yeah, you could argue if you didn't really like this episode, then you don't like women. But
Jesus.
you could go that far, but no. I was talking to TeeBaby about Mel and Thoros and about the loss of faith and the losing religion. And we do know, it's not just suspected, it's been confirmed that Paul Kay, the actor who plays Thoros, is back this season. So that made me think, he's in it somehow. Maybe he's in the Riverlands and something to do with Lady Stoneheart, and we're all hoping for that still to happen. I know Charlie's like, come on, get over it. But, I think this is the season where maybe she comes back. Who knows? I know we say that every year. But maybe, alternatively, Thoros could go up to the wall and maybe help Mel. And as T said earlier, we were talking about Thoros' loss of religion prior to him resurrecting Beric Dondarrion. So maybe he goes and helps her find herself again. She's clearly lost, and she's lost her faith. I think I'm looking forward to the introduction of the Ironborn, and I really hope that this is done in a better way than the introduction of Dawn. I know that we've seen the Ironborn in the show before, but the centering on the new characters coming in later episodes, Euron and the King's Moot, I'm really looking forward to that. I think that the burning of the ships in this episode in Meereen signifies that at some point there's going to need to be a replacement naval force in that location, and the only possibility, if you think about things being tied up and things coming full circle, particularly with the amount of episodes we've got left, is the Asher and taking the Ironborn fleet over to where Daenerys is. So, yeah, it could be Euron, possibly it could be Euron, but I think he's going to be more Westeros based.
Yeah.
And I was going, yeah, Tony. I was going to say what Tony mentioned before about how ridiculous it was with Jorah and the ring. I thought so until when I was actually watching the episode. When you see the ring that was left by the stampede, by the Dothraki horde, if you come across something as big as that, you know that they're circling somebody. So there's a small parameter. You would immediately go to the middle of that ring, the circle, and maybe there's a small circumference, but I think it wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility for him to find that ring and pick it up. So I don't know. I disagree with what Tony was saying there, which is very rare, by the way. The other thing that I wanted to say was the death indicators for me for this year, just from this episode. I think Thorne's a goner. I think Roose and Walder are the ones that are on the cross. I think Dario, when he said something like, if I grow old, and Jorah said, if you grow old, which made me think, you're not going to grow old, and we're probably going to see the end of you at some point this season. I think the question marks for me are, and I hate to say this, but I'm not sure about Brienne. I mean, things are so good for Brienne at the moment that I'm worried that something's going to go wrong later on, and I think Jaime's going to be taking out the High Sparrow. The scene with Arya, a lot of people are complaining, oh, that's a really short scene, and it was, what did it mean? I think it's setting up what we saw in the books in Feast and Dance, which is a catalogue of Arya's training with the Faceless Men, and I think that's what it's going to be for the majority of this season. You could hear her with her listening skills on the steps, and she was listening to people walking past, and they were saying, somebody mentioned Kingsguard, somebody else mentioned about paying the price, and she was listening intently. And the waif came and interrupted her and said, oh, were they saying anything to you particularly? And it was, so this is all about a training, and I think this will lead up, the Arya storyline for me this season will lead up to Mercy at the end in episode 9-10. And I think I think we're kind of behind the times when it comes to what's happening with Arya, and I think it'll be at the end of this season where we'll get to the end of the Mercy chapter. And I think that was it really from me, about a kind of roundup of how I felt generally. What about you?
You did a far better job than I will. So starting off, I'm going to have a rebuttal to you, James. If you do go back and check the ships, you'll see that it is when Jaime's leaving that ship in the harbor, and they show the ship again right before they show Tristan in it. It's still in the same harbor, and he's actually painting I think TeeBaby mentioned earlier, the eye stones for her, assuming funeral. He's expecting to go to her funeral. I'm assuming that they could send a raven or something with the letter. And I think like the new Dornish plot's going to be, they're going to blame the Lannisters for Tristan's death, maybe even Oberyn, because they've killed everybody that was there. Nobody knows. So there's a possibility there. Charlie, you mentioned... I don't know if you were saying Varys was the Harpy or whatever, but you're wondering why he would burn the fleet. In the beginning of the books, Varys needs more time. His goal is to bring the Dothraki across. They're the counterparts, the wildlings coming from the other end. So he needs Dany to have some sort of army, and now she's with the Dothraki again, so there is going to be emerging there. I'm assuming that they're going to follow her, like you said, because she's strong. She has dragons, strength. They follow with strength. That's what I got there. LaDonna, I agree with what you were saying on master storytelling. You were talking about Brienne swallowing, and the actors, Sean Bean does the exact same thing when he's talking to Robert to King Robert. He chokes down probably a lie. And the gargoyle references are always good. That's essentially all I got. I could probably come up with more along the way, but at the moment, that's all I got going. I'm done.
I got some comments to reply to that, and I think you have a great point on some of that stuff that I'm going to have to relinquish some of my opinions. Niko, your turn.
Sorry, I'm studying a bit.
Jeez, you gotta study 24/7, don't you?
Yes, yes, I have exam coming, and he's gonna ask me everything on Sunazadovich. So, okay, let's do this. I have really shitty notes. It's not so. Brienne and Sansa scene. I have troubles not because just of the inconsistencies with the dogs and everything, and Brienne just happens to stumble upon Sansa. But okay, if I get past it, I have troubles not because of the scenes. I understand that. It's because I'm not a fan of Brienne and Sansa. Why? I'm not just gonna say, oh, I don't like them, and not gonna argument it. So the first thing, Sansa has been giving me problems since I started reading the books 12 years ago and in the show. Then I kind of changed my mind because I respect especially LaDonna's opinion. And it's not the change of opinion. She just showed me some, other way to perceive Sansa. But my problem is everybody jumped on this bandwagon. Oh, we want to see Sansa strong. But people forget that she's fucking rude all the time. Like what she did with... She had this higher-than-thou attitude all the time. She's highborn. She's been disrespectful towards people. So people rooting for her all the time, like it's a given. But people forget that Arya, who's younger than Sansa, has been such a good character, and she's been struggling so much. And people prefer Sansa to be badass. I mean, do you understand what I'm going for? Arya was never rude towards the commoners. She was always nice to everybody. And then everybody's like respecting Sansa. So I don't like that kind of personality in life. I would not be friends with a woman that's like that. Never. Brienne. I don't see many dimensions in Brienne. The only thing I see with Brienne is she just fucking wants to serve. That's her personality. I would like for Brienne to have more than that, like to do what you want. Is this what you want your whole life, to serve somebody? What the fuck is wrong with you? So that's my 2 cents on that. But of course I'm excited to see where they're gonna go. I'm not saying that there are good characters, really well written, but I have trouble with them in real life, if you understand. So. Where we left off, people complain that this is just a filler episode, but if probably you're gonna binge watch binge watch Game of Thrones, so probably when you watch it in continuity, you will not have this problem. Also, people, don't be negative. If you're criticizing something and saying this shit, please tell me why. Don't say this woman is ugly. So what? She's old. She has saggy tits. What kind of argument is that? Don't be rude. It has nothing to do with the scene if she's old. I mean, it's not logical. Also, sometimes if you're complaining about the small details in the books, you have to take into account that this is a TV show. There are rules in filmmaking, like they cannot show the helmets, as LaDonna said. They cannot cover the heads. It's a rule in filmmaking, so beware of that. Oh my God. I would like that they shown in the Sansa scene that the dogs were kind of tame when they approached Sansa. I don't know if she still has this wargaming ability, but I was hoping to see that. I didn't see it, so I don't know what's going on with Sansa's wargaming. Ramsay is going to kill Roose. I know that Tony and I have different opinions, but I think this is foreshadowing. Like these scenes that we had, and the whole scenes made me think of Roose a bit more, and I think that Roose is stupid. I'm not arguing that he had really good planning of the whole Red Wedding and everything, but he's not thinking the big picture. What did he think? Starks have been ruling the North for thousands and thousands of years, and he just wants to take it over and think everybody's going to agree with that. He's done. Mel. In this scene, she's actually facing herself. It's literally shown. And now everything that she ever done is burned to the ground, and that's a pun. Everything is, she was rooting for Stannis That turned to shit. She burned Shireen. That storyline is obviously done. Now she saw John in the flames, and he's dead. So that's why we had this scene, that she's facing herself, that everything she did all her life is gone. And that's why I think that we're going to get the Blue Mel, because she's going to resurrect John, and that's going to work out good. And then she will obviously shift to the Night's King, because that makes sense, because this thing works, actually. Tower of Joy. I don't think that we're going to get the whole scene, as I think I mentioned in the pregame, because we've seen Maggie the Frog Prophecy played out for the first half, and then Cersei just, told this to Jaime. Marine scenes, we only got it to remind us that they had the fleet, and now the fleet is gone, so it's just the preparation for the Greyjoys coming. The Truckee scenes, so the Truckee Sea with the Super Dario brothers, as people call them, which is really funny. I moaned about the ring scene last season, and I just have to swallow it, I guess. Now, I personally have a problem with this Dario actor, because I still mourn the sex god that the last Dario was. I just don't think that this guy is delivering this Dario very well. He's just not as powerful as the sex god. Dany is just the update where she left off. I don't have anything to say on that. Now, Dorne, I have a question for all of you. Does this mean we are done with Dorne at all, or are we gonna get the bad pussies ruling? I don't know where are they going with this. It just brings more questions. Jaime scene, we just saw. Cersei was okay, but I loved the Jaime's acting, because it shows true Jaime. This is what he is. He just wants her to be with her and to, flee, fuck everything. It's just us. Let's fight and fuck. That's Jaime, and I love him. And yes, Alistair, sorry. That actor is really good. I know he's not a fan favorite, but you think about this, a really well-developed character. That speech, he just argumented why he did it. Really good delivery. I love it. And please, people, don't hate Ollie. Why do you hate Ollie? What? I don't understand this outrage. You want a child to be murdered. Are you fucking insane? What the fuck is wrong with you? It's a child. Try to understand. He's so wild, he's killed his whole fucking family. And that's why the bounty with John, that this happened. Why do you want a child to be murdered? Oh, I cannot get this. I really don't understand how people can live with themselves and say that, even though it's a TV character. Oh, and rant. Thank you.
Definitely some interesting stuff. I got comments on that as well. All right, TeeBaby, knock it out.
Alright, so I'm going to just be short, sweet, to the point. Niko, you're not going to like me because I think Ollie's, just a bitch. Because even when you see that scene, when Alistair Thorne and the officials, they're like, yeah, I killed John, and they're proud of it, which are cowards. But you see, when the Night's Watch, they're kind of against each other, half are with it and half aren't. You see Ollie have the audacity to stand in front like he's a G and just yeah, I'm with them. And I'm when you think about it, John killed the people that killed his parents. He killed John's girl. What else could John do? And then you stab him, and yet you're still not satisfied somehow. So I'm it's fiction. In real life, I would never root for a kid to be dead. In real life, that just isn't. But we're talking about fiction, and in this world, Ollie's 12 or 13, so he's almost a man grown. So therefore, nah, Ollie needs to go, and that's just. So I get what you're saying, how could you? But I'm Lady Stoneheart on this, so Ollie has to go. I will say just real quick, the real quick scene with Marjorie, she's going back to baby Cersei again. I think we're going to see what would have happened to Cersei if she stayed longer, because she was like, I am the queen, not the man to see my brother. And Cersei did that last season. I forget the chick's name. It's something that was shame or whatever, but she was ready to put hands on her. So I think that's going to be cool, us seeing that scene. I can't add on to what you guys already said because you touched home on every point. I can't do it any justice. So I want to talk about the blood spot, and maybe I'm just looking too deep into it because that's just what I do. But when I first saw it, I thought it was a dire wolf. It was so quick, and I was like, I'm going to have to watch that again. What was that? And then, like, when you see it again, at first, when John's laying down, it looks like a dragon. I'm not going to lie. And I was talking to James Bushell, shout out, and I was like, am I looking too deep into this? Because I was like, that looked like a dragon. Then I looked again. You have to look at that scene because they did it for a reason. And if you look with the angle, so if the picture's here, you're adjacent it like that. So if you look at the same angle as Davos was doing, it looks like someone's riding something. I won't say what it is, but it looks like a flaming sword. And when you see that, he was like, what the hell? So when you see that, he was like that. He never mentioned, why would he mention anything about Melisandre? He didn't even want, she's the reason why Stannis is dead in his eyes. Yeah, he's considering her after he saw that image. He saw something. And like I said, the longer you look at it, you start to see all types of shit. But when you look at it at the angle, it looks like a flaming sword. That's what caught my eye. And I was like, oh shit. So that's the reason why I think Davos is like, we probably will need her and to ask about her. Also, another thing with Alistair Thorne that grossed me out, he was like, well, you could take the red woman with you or keep her here if you want. And I was like, ew, that sounded so rapey to me. So I can't add on to anything else you guys say because you did a good job. But I want to talk about that stain because it's kind of divided. You either saw something or you didn't.
Can I just say one more thing? I'm going Ned Stark on this. I'm not for killing children any kind. This child needs some psychotherapy, and that's it.
Agreed, Niko. I'm with you 100%. All right, Tony.
All right. First
You have a fucking.
Say it
Go
again.
ahead. You're good. Go.
No, say what you had.
I was making sure she was muted.
Oh, all right. First off about Ollie. Fuck Ollie. All right. Fuck Ollie. I'll say that shit straight up. I hope 1-1 eats Ollie and he shits him out and he comes out like whole pieces of corn. That's what I hope about Ollie. I can't give a fuck about that little bastard. Next, about Melisandre and her old ass. Now, I've heard so many people complain that when these chicks has got the full frontal, and I heard so many women complain, why they gotta show that? Why they gotta show that? So if people have the right to complain about that, I have the right to complain about a 200-year-old woman. I don't need to see her box. Alright? I don't need to see her box. I don't want to see it. So that's why I'm complaining about that. As for the glamoring situation, I always thought that the glamoring thing, me myself, was that there's a spell, you put it on the object. And if you have an object of a person that could be on it, it makes the spell stronger. So if you have the bones of this dude Rattleshirt, then it looks stronger. Without the bones, you still have the glamour, but it's not as strong. That's why she says to Davos something about his finger bones going on. As for the books and the shows, I think people should start realizing, instead of saying the books aren't the shows, that's a good possibility that this stuff is going to happen in the books. And I think that's the way you should start looking at it. A lot of this stuff will happen in the books. You may not want it to. It may not be what you want, but I'm telling you, they're not just pulling this shit out of their ass. They're taking the most important stuff from the books, and they're putting it on the show. And that's what I think about that. And Dawn, I think the good thing that people could see out of Dawn that I see is, I think it's possibility that the Sand Snakes do take over, and we could get a War of the Four Queens. And I think that would be a great thing to come out of the Dawn situation. And I think that's probably what's going to happen in the books. And I think that's what's going to happen right here. I also think that a lot of these leaked scripts that we got earlier in the season looked like they were right. A lot of things I think that we're going to get to Hodor seeing why he's called Hodor. I think that's going to happen. So a lot of things from the leaked script that was already out there, I think that has been set right. As for Ghost, Jon being inside a Ghost, if you go back to last year, Jon made a joke about himself saying he wanted to be a Gwarg. He wanted to be inside the Ghost. And the producer said, wait till season 6. We're at season 6. So there we go. So that's pretty easy there to figure that out there right now. As for the Ring of Horses, let me tell you something about this. Finding the ring and I don't care if there is some ringworm type pattern there. Go outside, drop your ring in the dirt, throw it, and without the horses, and you go find it. You tell me, all right? And you're gonna tell me 100,000 herd of horses is running around, and you're gonna find that? Go outside to the beach without a metal detector, throw your ring up in the air, and spin around 3 times, and go find it. Tell me if you can. From standing right where you are, let alone 10,000 miles away coming on a horse. It's just ridiculous. Peace.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so what we need to do is we are a little bit slow, but we've done a good goddamn job so far. We need to do predictions, and we need to get questions from the audience. But before we do that, we do need to have a general discussion, just because I know there's some people that still want to say some stuff. My mama, for example. I do want to respond to some people that y'all are saying. So I'm going to knock these out really quickly. I'm trying to do it backwards, although it's probably not going to work. I respect what you're saying, Tony, about the ring. Even if that circle was not there, however, these are trained hunters. They are people who have tracked other people, who have definitely tracked wildlife before. It's a lifestyle that you and me and all of us aren't used to. Finding a dragon would not be as difficult as tracking an animal. So once they get where the dragon was generally, that finding the ring I don't think is as difficult as we may think it is. I know it's difficult, but I don't think it's as difficult. One issue I have with it, though, is that ring that they formed around Dany, why would they do that if they don't know that that's Dany? That doesn't make any sense to me. I think that's worth mentioning. All right. No, and I agree with you 100%, Tony. Well, I'm going to get to that. 99.9% that what we're getting in the show is the books condensed. So when they're doing huge stuff in the TV show, for the most part, it's what's going to happen in the books. Shireen's death, Doran dying, Arya Hota dying. Now, these aren't guaranteed. There are people that are going to be dead in the show that aren't dead in the books, and vice versa, possibly, but more likely the former. But so for the most part, though, Tony, I completely agree with you. Niko, I can't agree with you enough about Ollie, but I think that what's going on is that this is a television show, and it's not life. I think if it had happened in real life right in front of you, people would be like, Ollie, you need some help, kid. We got to get you help. But that's like, can you imagine some black urban kid who shoots somebody? He's a 13-year-old kid, and he shoots somebody because he was convinced the other guy offended him, and some dumbass gave him a gun. You don't kill the kid. You don't even put him in fucking jail for life. You get the kid some help. You help the kid. And I think that what's happening is that there's a separation, but so it's easier to say, no, fuck that kid. He deserves to die because he hurt somebody I care about. It's a kid, and he's, in my opinion, his mental conclusions that progressed him to this situation he was in. Plus, don't forget all those people that were around that traitor thing were going to him and saying, you need to do that. Not to mention Sam specifically. Sam told him that sometimes you know what's right, even though people are telling you something that is not. You just got to do it. And Sam meant it in all the right ways, but that kid took it the wrong way. The kid's motivations make sense. And even if it don't make sense and he's just a psychopath, with the exception of being a psychopath, people need help. Now, if you are a sociopath, psychopath, and you go out and hurt people, that's a whole nother question. And I'm not advocating the death penalty. I'm not for the death penalty. But that's a different situation than this kid is. Niko, about Sansa, you disliking Sansa. We were, almost all of us, I can't speak for everyone, but almost all of us, even if we were the nice kid, were assholes in middle school. And Sansa was kind of raised to be a princess, and not a princess in the literal definition, a princess in the stereotypical definition, and she took on that role. Arya fought it, but Arya's still a dick. Arya's a total dick to a lot of people. The Hound, she was a total dick to, even though the Hound didn't really do anything to her. He killed that boy, don't get me wrong, but she was a total dick, and he tried to do a bunch of shit for her. So Arya ain't that great either. But we're all flawed, and that's the point. We're supposed to grow out of it. What Martin, in my opinion, is doing about Sansa is to say, just because this girl who grew up rich, who had everything she ever wanted, the pony, the 16th fantastic birthday party, doesn't mean she can't still be a moral badass queen. It's about the growth from wherever you are. I think that's the whole point of it. MP, you're 100% right that letter could have been sent by Raven. 100% right. And didn't even consider it. I figured it was just went on the boat, but still left, and I think you are too, left with how the fuck did those girls get on that boat? Mama, you said that Melisandre is going to see what she wants to see, and they played that up kind of in this episode a little tiny bit, but they really played it up with Cersei. My point is that I'm agreeing with you. Melisandre seeing what she wants to see, and in the same episode, Cersei, in the episode where we start to think that, Cersei says that it's all prophecy. It's the same shit. Didn't Doran mention in the last episode that he had 4 nieces? We need to consider that. Okay. Charlie, you mentioned bastards ruling in Dorne. I don't know. It's a good question. We need to look that up. But actually, when you mentioned that, I started thinking, I don't know which of the bastards would rule. What if all 3 of those girls end up fighting at the end? Like, they are against each other. I'm making that up. I'm not actually suggesting it. But what if it ends up being they can't agree on who's supposed to rule, and they're not going to fucking agree? These 3 girls, I mean, they're tight, but I'm not sure they're going to agree. And again, with the 4 nieces, I'm not sure what's up with that. In the same way, Charlie, you mentioned that we don't know the backstory of Doran enough to really empathize with him. We don't know shit about Arya Hota. We don't know a goddamn thing about Arya Hota in this television show. I'm agreeing with you. Charlie, you also mentioned Roost's phylactery because he's a Lich King. He's not a Lich King to me. Roose is you know what it is, but a faceless man. In the same metaphoric sense, his phylactery is not separate from his self or his body. His self, his soul is not separate from his body. He's not able to move it. So his body is his phylactery, but not his skin. His skin is replaceable. Okay, the thing. And Charlie, there's your shit about the Harpy and the ships. Brilliant. We need to figure that shit out. And we know we're getting that red woman later. That's brilliant. And I need to put a lot more thought into that. And we're definitely getting something to that effect. Varys alluded to it in this episode. All right, last thing. Regarding Mel being old, I fucking loved what you said, Charlie. First of all, it bothers me that people, and Tony, you're entitled to your opinion. It's okay to react that way. I think that a lot of people who have a problem with homosexuality react badly to it because they don't. Well, there's a lot of people that do feel attracted to it and feel like guilty for it and feel like if I can't have it, nobody can fucking have it, so fuck y'all too. And I hate homosexuals and it's a bad thing. But I think a lot of the people genuinely have a problem with homosexuality because since they don't feel that way, when they see it, there's an aversion to it, a dislike, and it's not justified, but it's like, I don't find that attractive. Ooh, why would you do that? It's like eating escargot for some people. I fucking love escargot, but some people would see somebody eating escargot and go, that's fucking gross, why would you do that? But when it becomes sexual and it's even more played up and you got religion involved, so to me a lot of people just have this aversion. The same thing with Mel. But Charlie, you fucking nailed it when you said what you said. The reason, and I think it was you that said it, the reason it's so impactful is because, not necessarily just because she's old, but it's because this is somebody that we've sexually identified with, a lot of the viewers, and suddenly come to realize that the thing we thought was hot as fuck, no shit, Stannis fucked her, isn't at all that way. And it's a metaphor for what's underneath and all that, but I think you nailed that. That's all I wanted to say. All right, now we're generalized discussion. So I know, Mama, you wanted to say something. We'll start with you. And if anybody will just put in the chat if they'd like to add something to the conversation. I don't think we need to do this for too long, and then we'll do some predictions and get some questions. Mama, what do you want to say? Got to unmute it. Yeah.
Done. My God, you guys, I think you all are so damn brilliant. I really love this discussion. We're getting perspectives from everywhere, which is what Martin loves because he gives us perspectives from everybody. I want to go back to that picture of Melisandre. I do not have a source for that. If it is photoshopped, I'll go down as posting something wrong. I still think it's going to happen. But I also had an alternative theory that I've talked about before with at least James, that Mel can't do this, that she tries to do it and she can't, which results in John being put in the ice cells below, which becomes that blue flower growing from the bottom of the chink of the wall. Okay? So I'm just proposing a few theories here. I don't know if that's real, and I want to clarify that. If she can't do it, James and I have talked about Thoros coming to the wall. Like, there's something about Thoros with his loss of faith, but still the universe is working through him to resurrect him. So that is still a great possibility. And if that's true, then John won't be resurrected till later. And that actually ties into the prophecy better. But Thoros has got to get Lady Stoneheart resurrected, and I'm going down 100% she's coming back. I don't care what anybody says. And I'll tell you why I think she's got to come back. If we don't get Lady Stoneheart, then Sansa Stark has to take the part of this vengeful queen, and I just don't think Martin has set her up to be a vengeful queen. I think she's going to be a balanced queen. I think she has... I know this, you all know this, she has watched war from every avenue. She has been put upon. She has still maintained her ladyhood. I don't think she is going to ever get rid of that persona. She will be tougher, as her quote in the book is, "My skin has turned from porcelain to ivory to steel." So I think we need Lady Stoneheart so that we don't get Sansa to get into that revenge mode. And that takes it away. And if that concludes, and I really believe Lady Stoneheart is coming back to that Frey wedding. Oh, yeah, with the Lannisters and the Freys there, when 80-year-old, which is perfect, compare and contrast, 80-year-old Walder Frey, who still thinks he's robust and virile, marrying a probably 13-year-old girl. Compare that to Mel, who, by the way, you guys, there was an 80-year-old Irish woman who actually was that body. That's not CGI'd. She was brave enough to do it. They CGI'd a prosthetic, real makeup of Melisandre onto her body. I think that's kind of a great mirror that Mel accepts how old she is and what she's seen versus Walder Frey still going after nothingness, really. Nothingness and vengeance and sex. It's nothing. But I think it makes sense that after Lady Stoneheart takes care of that issue in the Riverlands with Walder Frey, that Thoros goes to the wall and resurrects Jon. I like that theory much better than Melisandre doing it. And if Mel can't do it, then her loss of faith is extreme. And that would play into Tony's little figurine that George R.R. Martin commissioned for his own use, where she becomes the blue Melisandre. So I just wanted to clarify that. Now, the last thing I want to say is I think it would be very ironic if this Dorne storyline has kind of been wrapped up and that Ilaria Sand ends up trying to put a Targ in charge, and Doran was trying to do it all along anyway. That would be so tragic. That's my thought, and I'm muting.
All right. In response to what you said, you discussed Thoros coming to the wall. I don't think that's happening at all. I never did say to do. But about Lady Stoneheart coming back, she's fucking coming back without a doubt. But she's not going to have a red wedding thing this season. I picture her coming back 8 or 9 or 10 and just as quick. We just realized she's coming back hanging people. And Brienne might even get caught. And the whole thing that you saw with the red wedding, that's to me Jaime and the Riverlands. We just need that storyline. All right, who's next? Who wants to go next? You might want to say something else? Charlie, did I see that hand go up? Yeah, Charlie.
All right, I have a few things to say, but I also wanted us, since you brought up Lady Stoneheart, I want us to fill out this chart I had created during the Season 6 predictions where we were debating which characters would either die, still be alive, things would happen for this season. So if you guys want to do this at the end, we can do it at the end. There's things like, is Lady Stoneheart coming back? Is Stannis still alive? Is Cold Hands coming over? Is the wall falling? Is there an ice dragon? Is Mance Rayder still alive / glamored? So we can do that towards the end. But yeah, general thoughts. Actually, that's all I wanted to talk about, really.
But do it. You
want to do that? Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing, actually, no, there's one other thing. Generally speaking, for the ending of the series, I agree with you, James and Tony, that the general ending will be the same. But again, the broad stuff between the stuff that doesn't really matter as much to the grand plot of the books, I don't think D&D feel as they don't feel the need to keep things the same. So I do think there's going to be some different things, and there already is, between events in Dorne, the North, Riverlands, whatever. So just keep that in mind. But I do agree that the ending, as far as it relates to the White Walkers, Jon Snow being the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna, maybe will probably stay the same between the show and the books. But I digress. So let's do the prediction stuff. So let's do a show of hands, maybe. How does that sound, James?
That's good.
Okay, so show of hands. Who says Lady Stoneheart is still alive and she'll be making an appearance this season? So we have James, we have LaDonna, we have Claire, MP, Niko, TeeBaby. What was your hand up? TeeBaby. So just me and Tony disagree. Interesting. Stannis is still alive. Who says he is still alive?
Yeah, I think he's still alive.
I think so, yeah. James, I had you down.
I want to add that I'm not like 100%. I'm 100% sure Lady Stoneheart's coming back, but I do think Stannis is still alive.
All right.
Me too, Charles. Me too.
Yeah, I saw it. James, Niko, MP. Was your hand up, MP? Yeah. Just you three? Okay. Cold hands. Will we get cold hands this season? Niko.
Sorry, it's either Cold Hands or Benjen Stark. I'm not sure. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm eating.
Let's go. How about I put Benjen / Cold Hands as that figure? Sound good? Okay. LaDonna says no. 1 sec. So Niko, MP. Who else had their hand up for that?
James.
James. Okay. Sorry. Just you three?
Well, I want to add that when you say Cold Hands, to me, that's either Cold Hands, a different guy that I'm talking about, Benjen, or the Night's King as Cold Hands. To me, that is Cold Hands. So
A character just like in the book that's Cold Hands that plays a similar role. We'll just call him that, generally speaking. So there's 3 people, it looks like. Niko, MP, James. Correct me if I'm wrong with that.
May I say something?
Go for it.
Yeah, just
want to make sure the community knows this. Benjen is not Cold Hands. The manuscript from Martin's books clearly show the editor asking, is Cold Hands Benjen? And he said no. Yep. So, in light of that, I put my hand up for Benjen coming back because I don't think Cold Hands has to, because he is the Night's King and we already seen it.
Agreed, but to add, first of all, Charlie's talking about this season.
Yeah.
Second of all, that bitch is still alive, we think. But Cold Hands being the Night's King, I think it's Cold Hands as the Night's King coming back. I don't think that 100%. I think that character is one of those 3 things, which is what Charlie's asking.
Precisely. Okay. The wall falls down this season. James,
Tony, Claire.
Claire. I see Tony. So just you 3, James, Tony, Claire? Okay. Ice Dragon. We will see an Ice Dragon this season. Actually, for this one, I'll say for the whole series, because I think it's a bit too soon if there is one. So, LaDonna.
Literally everybody.
Okay, everyone.
But me. Is it possible you mean a white dragon also? WIGHT dragon?
Yeah, and there's yeah.
We're going to get a white dragon. I agree with that.
Ooh, okay. So everyone. I'll just put that down.
No, not me.
Not you?
No. I don't think D&D no, I don't think they're going to go there. No.
I'm kind of with you on that, TeeBaby. I think they're going to cut that out potentially.
So you're a no?
So in the books, yeah. TV, no.
And you're not You think that the books will have a white or ice dragon, and they're going to cut it out of the show?
Be
Yeah,
surprised, yeah.
yeah. I don't trust too much in D&D like that. So
Alright.
maybe later on I'll change my mind, but no, not especially not this season. But no, I don't know if they're gonna go there.
And Charlie, yeah. Go ahead.
You know damn well we're going to have a white, W-I-G-H-T, dragon.
Don't you make her change her opinion? She's got her opinion.
You know what it is? That's common sense. I don't think D&D has that much common sense. See, that's logic. Logic makes sense to me, but I don't think they're going to go there. So.
And Charlie, hold up, Mama. Charlie, did you say you were or were not thinking there's going to be a white or ice dragon by the end?
I completely agree with TeeBaby on this one.
Okay.
Everything you said, basically. Okay, last question. Unless you guys have more, I should put down on the list. Mance Raider, is he alive/glamoured?
I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me. My problems are gone.
Oh, wait, Niko agrees.
Yeah, I'll take that too.
Niko
I like
MP, wow.
the idea that he's in Torment.
I gotta finish it. There's no one to deride me.
Alrighty.
Can I say something?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so my prediction is that we are not going to get just 13 more episodes. What Dan and David want, probably the producers have, trouble with it. They will want to milk more money, so I think we're going to get more than that.
Totally disagree. They want to do exactly how much time they think they can fill. But you're entitled to your opinion. Just wanted to put mine out there as well. Charlie, what's next?
Those were all the ones I had written down. I had the flayed, like the two flayed figures on the two characters in the trailer who were flayed, but I already wrote down everyone's answers because you all answered them. So,
Okay.
Well,
Cool. Thank you for doing that, Charlie. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
It's just kind of in terms of predictions and questions and things. I've got a question that I don't know the answer to, which is why I'm asking. What the hell's going to be happening with Littlefinger this season? I've got no idea what's going on with him. Has anyone got any predictions or?
He's in the snow in the season, so I'm guessing he's going to end up somewhere with Sansa. I mean, that's his storyline revolves around Sansa and Littlefinger, in my opinion. Mama?
Okay, I've said this before. I don't think Sansa's little rise to be the queen, which I do believe is happening, is going to be that easy. I still say she's going to quiet out. I think Baelish is going to have a real problem with her. She's not going back with him. Brienne is going to protect her now, and Baelish left her kind of swinging in the wind when he left her with the Boltons. So I think Littlefinger is going to continue to do what he does, and he's going to go to Harrenhal. That is his kingship. Harrenhal is his. And we have said Harrenhal is probably the penultimate, that being before the ultimate, fall of the White Walkers. So he's going to go to Harrenhal, and he is going to amass rations, and he's going to try to manipulate the rest of the country into, and this is what Bronn predicted with Tyrion. When Tyrion and Bronn were trying to work out what would happen at Blackwater, Bronn very aptly told Tyrion, diamonds don't make you survive. Food does. And so if Littlefinger gets all the food amassed at Harrenhal, which can hold off 1,000,000 walking forces, that was very clear. They can't survive Dragonfire, but they can put back 1,000,000 armies. Littlefinger's going to go there. He's going to have all the food, and he's going to tell everybody to fuck off until the dragons come.
I think you're right, Mama. That's the thing that's missing. He can't get Dorne in, but all the other areas are taken care of that have people in charge, with the exception of that there. All right. So
that's a brilliant idea, LaDonna. That was amazing. I love it.
That was a long-term analysis between James and I, figuring out what he was going to do.
Niko, look like you want to say something.
So,
Bye.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Wrong button. So somebody asked in the comments, what is John's sigil gonna be? It's just a joke. Is it gonna be fire, wolf, or ice dragon? I don't know.
My mom and I talked about this a minute ago. I think I know what's up. All right, so dragons are often depicted with 4 limbs and 2 wings, but there's no creature on Earth that's anything other than insect or bug that has that, or fish. So John's sigil to me will be 4-legged, winged wolf, which is what was being referenced in the first book, the winged wolf. I thought Snowflake would be cool, but I don't think it's going to be that. It's going to be a 4-legged winged wolf. And "We do not kneel" will be his motto.
We do not kneel. That's it.
But I think the dragons have 2 extremities. And,
Their wings are their hands, so it's like a bat.
okay, but you don't want 2-legged wolf. It would be ridiculous.
Which is really interesting because Catelyn Tully has Went lineage, which is Harrenhal, and they are the bat.
That's true, but John doesn't have any Tully in him.
That's true.
So I guess all of them are winged wolves, though. That's kind of what your point is. They're all winged wolves. Anyway, all right. Does anybody have anything they want to add before we get to predictions?
I want to see Max von Sydow. I've loved him since The Exorcist.
All right. I'm going to start. Mama.
I just for one moment. He's going to be awesome as Bloodhaven. And I'm going to mute.
Okay, so let me start. I'm going to do mine real quick. In my opinion, we're getting Bran as the central thing this next, that's going to be the most impactful because we're getting visions. And Max von Sydow is going to be there. We're also going to get Mira because Mira's arc is going to be important this season, so we need to have some Mira. John's getting resurrected this next episode. That's how the episode ends, in my opinion. But we're going to get bits of it throughout. Marine, we're getting some Marine because we really didn't get shit last time. All we saw was that there's nothing there and they burned the ships. I think we're getting the Greyjoys next episode, which is going to be fucking sweet. I hope we get Euron, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But so that to me is the main gist of it. I'm sure we're going to see more of other people. I don't know for sure next episode because I could pick and choose. It could be everybody. They did a good job of showing almost everybody this last episode with the exception of Bran. But those are the ones I'm betting we see. We're going to see the Greyjoys. We're going to get a lot of Bran. Not a lot of Bran. A big thing with Bran, Wall, and Marine. And let's just knock this out one by the same pattern we did. Charlie, what do you think next episode?
I can't really speak on too much because I actually saw some preview pictures for next episode, which kind of speaks on your predictions. I think we're going to get Bran, but I will add to that. I think we're going to get his vision of Winterfell when Ned Stark was young, because the episode is called Home, if I recall. So put 2 and 2 together, Bran, vision of home. I also, a little thing to add on that, maybe a smaller prediction, or actually no, a bigger prediction, or crackpot prediction rather, is that I think that they might potentially switch up the way visions are done. It might not be done the same way in the show as in the books, where I think Bran might actually have the added ability to see the past through other people, in the sense that he could potentially see the past of Winterfell by looking, or by maybe, I don't know, touching Hodor or a character like that. I think it would be kind of cool if we got to see, visions of Winterfell's past through looking at Hodor's memories. If that all made sense. Anyway, that's all.
Interesting. Mama?
Well, if I can piggyback on what Charlie just said, James, you and I have always, what we've talked about during a really deep analysis on my deck when we were arguing, that if someone dies under a weirwood tree, it's almost like you can project your memory into it. It's almost like you're there, as you've put it, like you're a library book on the shelf as part of your mental history. So if Bran could go into that mental history, then Charlie, you're right. He could have the perspectivism of every single person who has managed to be near a weirwood, or even, like a weirwood root just emerging from the ground. So I really like that. He is the repository of knowledge, and so are the Dosh Colleen in their own way. It's very interesting, and Martin loves books. He would love to be a major librarian to make people learn history by reading. So,
what's going to happen next episode, Mama?
I think that Tommen is going to take the part of Marjorie. I don't know if that'll happen next episode. Bran is going to. We've seen him emerge from a vision. He is going to show what his training has shown, and I think that's going to take us to the Tower of Joy. I hope so. What do y'all think?
What you think, Claire?
Okay, right. I think that at the beginning of next week's Small Council, we should check whether or not anybody's got their predictions correct, because this is how confident I am in mine, okay? So my prediction, my prediction for the next episode, so it's called Home, okay? Bear that in mind. That's exactly where Daenerys is going to be going. So we're going to see the Dosh Colleen next week in next week's episode, and I think we're going to spend a considerable amount of time there. And I think at that point we see Daenerys as the younger woman brokering some kind of relationship to get the Dothraki on side, and I think Drogon makes an appearance, and that's where we see Daenerys' strength and the Dothraki following her. So I think there's going to be a lot of Daenerys and the Dosh Colleen next weekend because it's home. That's my prediction. Mark it down.
Right. I don't really have much by way of predictions aside from what I had already said about I think the Lannisters will get the blame for Tristan and Doran. And I did really like Charlie's idea of the vision of home being Bran's vision. That was pretty cool. That's all I got for predictions.
Cool. Niko?
Okay, so I don't think Jon is coming back this episode. I think the third episode is the Oathbreaker, right? That's why I think it's going to be the third episode. This episode, well, did you see the trailer? Or the sneak peek, whatever. So we're going to get Jaime, we're going to get a little bit of Roose, we're going to get Quentin's role merged into Tyrion. So he's going to go check the dragons. And what else? Something in King's Landing, you know, just shit boiling up. And I don't think that... I have a problem with Bran's visions regarding Tower of Joy because do we have any werewolves there? I don't think so. So I'm not sure if we're going to get his point of view on this. Maybe somebody else is going to... I don't know how they're going to do it. If they're sticking up to the Werewood network. And the other thing, that the message, not just the episode when we get the brand, but the whole season, is that the information and knowledge is power. But what he's going to do with it, can he manipulate it? That's the other problem. But this is just the message from Bran.
Well, to side note that either it's possible that the werewoods are used to make either Dawn or Valyrian steel. But that said, the books, Bloodraven says, one day you won't even, once you're trained, you won't even need a werewood to see through. Or at least won't even be on them when you can see. TeeBaby?
I think we might possibly get the Tower of Joy next episode just because I believe that we're going to get Jon's resurrection probably on the third episode. So I think to drive home that he's a Targ, they're going to show that scene. I think we'll get more in depth with Tyrion, and I didn't really kind of look at the trailer, so I'm kind of going off of what you guys are saying. So that's just my prediction.
All right, Tony, what you got?
I've seen the trailers of the next week's stuff, so I'm not going to sit up here in front like I'm saying something that, probably everybody else is seeing. I think it's going to be a much better episode, than we got this week, and I look forward to seeing it. So I think it's going to be a really good episode, though. I really am excited about seeing this episode. Like I said, I hate first episodes. Usually the second one's where it picks up, so I look forward to the second episode.
Hell yeah. Niko, what do you want to say?
I just want to say to all the people that giving me hate because of Ollie. I mean, I don't care. I'm a grown-up. You know what I say to that? But just tell me, what does it solve, killing Ollie, in the big picture? Nothing. He doesn't. It's so, peripheral. It doesn't matter. They have better things to do than killing a little kid. So.
All right, Mama, you wanted to give a shout out real quick? You're muted.
She muted.
Am I okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to give a shout out because it's funny. The other night I was listening to Mark's reviews, who was Sir Hunt's, and he kind of came in as a newbie and, hey, I know you're in the chat right now, so I'm going to give you a shout out. But I didn't say anything. I was just like typing in the chat, and somebody gave a shout out to James of Thrones, and he goes, oh, self-promotion, and I went, I didn't say it. It wasn't me. So I just want to, and he took it like a champ. So I just want to say I've really enjoyed your videos. It's almost like I'm kind of back, not in the beginning, but I'm just loving listening to you kind of figure it out. So you go, Guy. I like your videos a lot.
All right. Thank you for the shout out, whoever it was, that random shout out person. All right, so I'm going to do the Q&A real quick.
Can I just add one more thing, please?
No. Yes.
I don't know if you touched upon the Ramsey's soft side. Did you argue about that? I mean, did you discuss it?
He wants what he wants. If Theon were taken away from him, he'd be sad about that too. It's about things he owns, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know what to think. It was different. I did not expect it. But the ending line when he said "feed her to the dogs" or whatever. So it was okay, I guess.
All right, I'm waiting for some Q&A. Tony, I want to hear more from you. I did get the chance to watch your video before this, but how many episodes do you think we're going to get these last 2 seasons? I'm taking that off the Q&A.
I think that the last 2 seasons, it's probably like extra 2 episodes. You know, I think we're going to get probably 13 episodes, 14 episodes for the next 2 seasons. You know, 4, 7, and 7. It's going to be something like that. It's not going to be more. Like I said, this thing is already storyboarded. It's already written. They know what they were doing. They're going to put it like that. These guys. It takes up a lot of your life, people. You know what I mean? And they got. You can look at these dudes' hair color when it first started to their hair color now. Besides that, they gotta hear a lot of shit. All right. Not only do they, you know, they may win an Emmy, they may win this, but combine that with all these fans talking shit. You know what? They want out. And I don't blame them. You know, they just want to spend that money, lay in that hammock, sip that umbrella drink, and go off into the sunset, and they deserve it. So, it's going to be done quick.
Anybody disagree with Tony? All right. Where is Sansa going to go? Where will Sansa go? Somebody was saying maybe the Castle Black or the Umbers. Where y'all think Sansa's going to go?
Where the horse go? I don't know. Sorry.
John the Krakenwit mentioned in the comments earlier, does anybody think that Sansa will mirror Kat's speech about Tyrion at the Vale, you know, and turn the Northern Lords against the Boltons and try to rally the North in her own name? So I suppose the bigger question is she going to end up trying to get some support from any of the Northern Lords, and is it worth thinking about?
And Don the Krakenwit shouldn't even ask that question. He knows the answer to that question. Come on, Donnie. Jesus. Is she going to get support from the Northern Lords? Where's she at? Come on, Donnie. You know better than that.
Do you think that means that maybe we see somebody like the Mandalays in? Do we know that they've been cast?
I don't know. We have strong indication that Wyman has been cast.
Yeah, but you know, we've also got Davos at House Mormont. So we know he's there because the Mormont sigil's in the back. So I'm not sure Asha took him to the Umbers or Skagos. Skagos is out.
It's the Umbers. It's the Umbers. The Umbers are with the Boltons fighting, right? So that's
no, we don't know that, Tony. We don't know that.
You didn't see. I thought I've seen a Bolton Umber banner in one of the shots, and one of the leaked photos or whatever it was that was down in there with them. It looked like that banner with them.
I
So
vaguely
I
recall
think it's
Tony being right.
If that's true, Tony, then I think she took him to House Mormont, and that would be an island which would mirror the Skagos thing. It would just be on the west. And so if Davos, who is the father figure to Rickon in the books, I mean, that's what it looks like he's going to be, then it would make sense for him to go to House Mormont. And it's kind of cool because there's a little girl there ruling right now, and it would make sense for kind of Rickon to be there with that little girl. We owe no allegiance but to the House of Stark.
If I can just add on to that, LaDonna, because I agree with you wholeheartedly on what your thoughts are on Sansa. If they don't go to the Ember, she's going to Mormonts. And it also adds on to the fact that last season we get quote-unquote proof that the Mormonts are out there. I think the fact that Jon Snow got a letter from Lyanna Mormont is, and the fact that she said, you know, we bow to no one except for the man who goes by Stark or whatever the case may be, I think that kind of testifies to the fact that they're going to be loyal towards the Starks, and chances are somewhere that Sansa can go. And since we really know, well, we know quite a bit given the fact that we've seen Jorah Mormont, and now Lyanna Mormont. We've heard of her. That's it.
I think that when Sansa's down there, that's her down there with the Mormonts, and maybe Davos. I don't think that's Rickon. I think that when you hear that, I've heard many people say it in the on their channels and other people in the chats, that when you hear that voice of Ramsay say, "You like to play games, little boy," that is Rickon he's talking to. It says in the next episode, I think it says that in the description that Ramsay gets a gift. I think that gift will be Rickon. And that's the gift that Ramsay's going to get. And I think that sounds...
God damn it, Tony. That's fucking perfect.
Well, that's episode 3 or 4, I think, though, isn't it?
I thought it was next. Is it episode 3? Well, I know one of them. I thought it was the next one. So if it's the next one, or whatever it is, whichever one it is in, that is Rickon, that gift that Ramsay's going to get. I can't see it being anything else. So I think that... Of course he is. That's bar Shaggy Dog thing. Shaggy Dog thing she made a video on, I think, saying about.
That would be good if Shaggy Dog took him down after all that goddamn hunting of the dogs.
So that was Sir Quinn a lot that asked those two.
James, sorry to interrupt. I have actually a question, if I can add one, from somebody who asked it a few days ago, actually, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. It was from. I wrote it down here. Sorry, maybe you should ask one more question, then I'll go find the question I had. No, I found it. Never mind. It was a question from John Maddle. He asked it on my video and apparently Tony's video as well. He asked, do you think that if there is ice dragons, they are resurrected / reanimated fire dragons like the others used? And it kind of thinks something you talked on that, or you touched on it earlier, James. So
I don't think we're going to get ice dragons like dragons made of ice. That to me is out of the question. Although we may be getting ice spiders, which leads credence to the possibility that you could have an ice dragon. But to me, there's going to be no... And I think we will get ice spiders. I think they put that in the TV show enough for us to assume they're going to. But for the ice dragon, what I literally mean when I say that is a dragon resurrected, an undead dragon, which is kind of an invincible thing, because even though fire can kill a dragon, it has to be fire. It's a dragon. So fire is a difficult thing to kill a dragon with, and it's undead. Although at the same time, the whites burn pretty easy. So I don't know how that's going to work. Yeah. All right. So that was Quinn a lot that asked a couple questions. Thank you, Charlie, for that. If anybody wants to add anything, let me know to that one.
I'll add something to the white dragon thing. I just, it has to be the ice dragon. I think it will be an ice dragon. George R. Martin is taking credit for creating the ice dragon. I just can't see how he's not going to use that. If he took credit for doing it, he's going to put it in there. So that's the reason why I'm going to go with that over a white dragon. I think you have to pay off Bloodraven's egg stealing. I mean, he stole that egg for a reason. I think you have to pay that egg off. Why did he take that egg? Why does he have that egg? You have to pay that off. And I think the only way to pay it off is not to take an egg and have a dead dragon. It's going to be an ice dragon. So that's what I think.
Can I say something?
Fair point. Yeah.
I agree with Tony. I do not agree with Tony on the burning of the...
Nothing.
But if I'm right, you will give me the biggest kiss and biggest hug when we meet.
Perfect.
If I'm right.
All right.
Can I ask one question that has been forever asked on this chat, is Salvador San actually going to fuck Cersei? It's been asked over and over again. I think he is. Except I think he's honorable. Is he going to seduce her in her crazy state?
Only you, Mom, would Q&A your own questions. I'm listening, though.
No. These aren't my questions. These have been asked over and over.
I think so. I think so.
I think he's going to seduce her.
I agree. And it won't be rape. That was kind of the point of that comment. I agree with you, Mom. Yeah. All right, so Lorania Lundi asked, did Dany miscarriage at the end of the book, and why is that not important in the show? My personal opinion is that she didn't miscarry in the books. I got my mom selected, sorry. She didn't miscarry in the books, although it's possible that she did, but I don't think she's ever going to have another child. I think that was kind of the point. But the kingdom will be her children, in a way. So to me, she's sick. She's got dysentery, basically. That's what I think that is. Anybody think she was pregnant?
No.
Okay. Jory L. Azuli asked, does anybody think that Jaime will kill the High Sparrow? I don't think so. I think he's just threatening. Anybody think?
I think it's either Jaime or Sir Robert Strong. One of them is going to kill him. I think it's one of them take him out.
Agree with Tony. I think that'd make for a great prediction.
Charlie, I lost you. You there? I lost you. Say it again.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I...
Damn, it's the same shit, right again. Lost you again. As soon as you start talking. Go ahead, do it again.
Okay. I agree with Tony. I was wondering if we should do another prediction based off of that one. Who kills the High Sparrow? Boom.
Robert Strong.
Why does everybody assume he's going to die?
I don't think he dies. I think he is Helen Reed, and he's going to go back after destabilizing King's Landing.
Ow.
I can see Cersei killing him.
Jaime, what do you think?
Dead man dead.
I don't think Jaime kills him.
No,
I'm surprised y'all think so.
Jaime's going to kill Cersei. That's been foreshadowed.
Well, he can kill other people along the way.
I don't think somebody as significant as Helen Reed is who is going to do it. I think Helen Reed just disappears like a guerrilla fighter and goes back where he's supposed to.
I see no reason why that man would be Howland Reed. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tony.
I like the theory of LaDonna. I could see it in the books, but not so much in the show.
I agree with you, Tony.
Again? Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love you.
Twice. Oh my God.
So, just going over it, LaDonna, who do you think kills, or do you think the High Sparrow dies? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
I
thought I disconnected.
I do hear you. I'm just not sure how the High Sparrow has been put there. I mean, I know you can just say it's a religious fanaticism, but we've already got that with the Red God. I just think he's a guerrilla fighter. I think he is who he is. And he went there to destabilize it like Varys is destabilizing it. And once it's done, he's going to get the fuck out of there and go to the north. That's my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'll take my whacks.
So the High Sparrow survives then, more or less, right?
Yeah.
Do you mean this season or in general?
I meant for this TV show. This season specifically, I guess.
I think he dies.
Niko,
I think
you
he
think that?
disappears.
Guys, let me pause for a split second. I think TeeBaby may have to leave in a split second.
Yeah.
TeeBaby, I just want you to know I love you. Thank you so much for being here.
If we're doing this like another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. That's all I think we're going to do, so stick around for us.
Yeah.
All right.
TeeBaby, why don't you answer the question first? Do you think High Sparrow dies, and who kills him?
We're talking about TV, not the book.
TV, only TV, no books.
Right. So he possibly will die. Maybe not this season. I think that's lazy if they do kill him off. But then again, they're putting 2 books into like 10 to 20 hours. So if he does die, it probably would be Jaime. It wouldn't make sense, but it probably would be him.
Okay. Niko, who you were saying it was?
So in the TV show, I think there's gonna be a massive bloodbath or whatever, and I think Robert Strong or something like that. But LaDonna made a good point with him disappearing. So I don't know. I don't know. You cannot kill everybody in the end. I mean.
So did I put you down as I don't know?
I think he dies.
Okay. By Robert Strong. Okay, James, you were gonna say.
I think he has to die at the end just because he's old, but I really I don't know if he had to get killed, it could be by Cersei because Cersei put him in power and could take him back, and I could see that happen, but I don't really have a guarantee on that one.
I think that you should show him naked and let his balls hanging all the way down to the floor, just like they showed us with Mel. So we have to suffer. So the ladies have to suffer through that too. It's only fair.
Nah, we don't want to see saggy balls. Sorry.
Oh ho 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 ho.
So
Can we bring back old Dario and do this?
you say it's Robert Strong, Tony?
No, I'm gonna go Jamie Lannister. He's got to kill somebody this year. Who else is he gonna kill? And I think that's probably it's gonna happen later on this season. Probably after River Run, he'll probably come back. It seems like it's so weird the way they have it because Mace is there on the horse. Mace is in. He's not gonna come back till later on. I don't think so. That has to be later on this season. I think so.
Can I add this? Can I add this? I think that I would like to bring Bran's vision into this conversation. Because when he has a vision of Clegane Bowl, there is a golden armored man or something that comes from the sky that looks like it's going to kill the mountain. I think that is I think it's probably Jaime. And I think it will happen much later when he intervenes into this incredibly, horribly misplaced battle when the Hound does not want to fight anymore and he's dragged back to face the mountain. And I think that Jaime and Brienne and Sansa are going to have this pact, not a pact, but the conversations that will lead to Jaime to come back and kill the mountain. But I think it will be much later. All this Clegane Bowl hype has not been set up yet. I do think that vision of the golden armor coming down from the sky, whether it's the dragon or Jaime on the dragon, but that's when Sir Robert Strong gets taken down. And I think he has the head of Robb Stark and the body of Gregor Clegane.
I'm with you on all this, but that's not the question.
Well, let me just finish it. Doesn't matter. I think it will be a horrible tragedy for the Hound to be there and Sansa, and both of them know he needs to die, and I think Jaime takes him out, or Brienne. That's my opinion.
I think it's Sansa, but I'm with you.
Could be.
We think it's Jaime, Charlie. I think it's quite simple from a TV perspective. Jamie's the love of his life was dragged naked through the capital. There's going to have to be some payback for that, I'm afraid.
Good point.
Jamie's killed a king. It's going to be nothing for him to knock off the High Sparrow by the end of this season from a TV show point of view. And yeah, I think she's going to use him to do that, to get rid of the High Sparrow. That's the vengeance. And once she's done what she wants with Jaime, then she'll rely on Robert Strong to do the rest.
What she said.
There you go.
Yep, gotcha. I think it's going to be Robert Strong, but James, I got disconnected when you were explaining yourself with respect to the High Sparrow.
Basically, that I don't really. I'm confused why so many people are dead set on him dying this season. Is that what we're saying? Because people are in the comments saying he's going to die, and I'm getting the impression people have got a spoiler. But I think he has to die by the end. I don't have a particular person. I think that it's going to be, but if I had to pin it on somebody, I'd say Cersei. But this is not one of my, this is going to happen sort of situations, like the Nice King in Cold Hands or something like that. But
gotcha. Okay, I got everyone.
Next season is going to be focused a lot on the battle with the White Walkers. You're going to have a little bit with dealing with the realm of men, and then the realm of men uniting, and the rest is with the White Walkers. So there's really not a lot of things for the High Sparrow to do. I think its time is up. She's got to go.
I would say, and I hear you, I would say the last season is the Battle of the White Walkers. The next season will be more humans having to resolve their issues so that they can go fight. But you're going to end up with a huge battle at the end of next season that ends up with most of humanity being decimated.
I think you're looking at it as
you're
looking at it as 2 full seasons. I don't think we're going to get 2 full seasons, So if you look at it as next season is the last season cut in half.
Well, what I mean? Yeah, and actually I mentioned to my mom that at the beginning I kind of felt like they were going to do 7 seasons in a movie, seven seasons in a movie. Well, that's basically what they're doing. There's 13 hours after this season. But I think that 6 episodes is more than enough for them to have the traveling to Winterfell in order for the final battle to happen and the communications that occur there. 7 episodes is about right for everybody to coalesce and end up fighting before the final battle. To me, that's the way that at the end of the next season we understand everybody's about to head to Winterfell.
Can I add?
Agree.
I'm sorry, Tony. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go right ahead.
Yes.
There are some newbies in our chat, and I would just simply like to say this. And before you all do a knee-jerk, I would ask you to watch our video on this and RNS Entertainment's video on this. People are asking about Gendry. There is a lot of precedent in the book.
We've got a video. You should go watch it. Let's go to the next question. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but there's a video about it. Is there anything you'd like to add other than what's in the video?
Yeah, I just want to very briefly say that the Baratheon line is not dead yet. Gendry, I think, is Robert and Cersei's first and only true-born son. Don't get into the Maggie the Frog prophecy. We explain it. He also is the blacksmith, which translates to Hephaestus in Greek mythology, which is the person who can forge steel. He is A, true-born son, and B, he can reforge or maybe even forge Valyrian steel. That's all I have to say.
Cool. All right, so...
Can I add something?
Betty, yeah.
What Claire said. Claire, you were right about Cersei and wanting revenge. I mean, especially because you mentioned that she had to go through streets naked. I would like to add to that she was not naked, she was nude. There's a difference. And this is the first episode, if you realized, the first discussion, where we did not mention Night's King too often. This is weird for me.
What's the difference between naked and nude?
Semantics. Nude, you're more exposed. Did you ever? If you read Sandman comic books, right? Neil Gaiman's. So the spear, she's not naked, she's nude, and semantically there's a difference. Naked is just the body.
I looked it up. You're right. Good call. All right. So Fetty In asks, where do y'all think the season 9 battle location is going to be? I wanted to say outside of Winterfell, but I don't see snow there, and it's not going to get any warmer. What y'all think?
Niko is a rocket scientist. I ain't tested him.
Huh?
I mean, Niko is a rocket scientist. I ain't looking up unless you say it. I'm good with it. I ain't got to look it up.
English ain't her first language. Alright, so where do y'all think the season 9, the big battle at the end of this season is going to happen? I'm saying Riverlands only because that's where the north, somewhere around the Riverlands, the phrase, Caitlin maybe. I don't know. What y'all think?
Winterfell.
It's snowing in Winterfell. How's this Winterfell?
It's named Winterfell for a reason, for God's sake. It's Harrenhal and Winterfell. That's it.
No, no. I think you're missing what we're talking about. The battle at the end of this season.
Oh, Winterfell.
Why is there not snow there?
But I don't think it's going to be
Winterfell. They jumped off a wall into snow.
Mama.
I went to the bathroom.
Catch up. The question is, the final battle, there's not snow in the trailer. So how is it Winterfell? Okay. So now, who do you think? Where do you think?
I have no idea. I'll listen to you.
Think about it. Somebody else? Maester Payne, what you think?
I think it has to be somewhere around Winterfell, given where the Boltons are, and they're the only ones I can see being in it. So I would go with Winterfell.
Tony?
I don't know. It all depends. Like I said, you got Mace Tyrell. He's over there. It depends when he comes back. When the stuff at River Run, it's hard for me to determine when that stuff at River Run is going to happen. For the fact that Jamie seems to be seated next to Mace on horses. So I could see if it was Mace came back early, they did that thing. Cersei got mad at Jamie, then sent him the River Run. But I just don't know how they can make that fit the way they. Jamie may have to go to River Run first, But then it's just weird to me because he has to run into Brienne. That whole situation has to happen. So unless they're gonna have this Arya thing go really fast, like when the next 2 episodes, you know what I mean? They're gonna have Arya run away, do the Mercy thing, and come right back to. Because I think the only way she's getting back is with Mace Tyrell. I think that will come later on in the thing. So. I think that the battle will probably be River Run is going to be the final battle at the end, over down that area.
Can I add one thing? Natalie Dormer, who plays Marjorie, was on Jimmy Kimmel last week, 2 weeks ago, and he asked her where did she film this year, and she said Belfast and Spain, and Kimmel said, well, you just gave us a major spoiler. And she said, why? And he said, well, you're in prison, and why would you be in Spain? I think something's going to happen at Highgarden.
I think you definitely may be right about that. I think that Highgarden needs to be brought into this, and all they need to do is show it once or twice this season and never go back there. We're good. I need to say, Mom, that I was rude, and I apologize. I did not mean to be as quick to cut you down. That's my fault. I apologize. I was wrong to do so.
I love you forever and ever.
I love you too. All right, so.
Can I add something?
Yes.
What about the Battle of Fire? Like with all the Greyjoys, we need to have this season, I think.
The what?
The Marine shit.
It does happen this year too. I think it has.
Yeah. But I think the big battle is the Riverlands, definitely.
The Battle of Fire? What
Battle of Fire in Marine.
I don't remember that.
Well, you gotta figure that Dany can't be in the Vaystar Thrak that long. That storyline has to end very fast, so she has to make her way back. So they're gonna have that battle there this year. That battle should go down.
Oh,
I think they would have to show that.
Are y'all talking about a battle in the Tyrion chapter released for Winds of Winter?
Mm-hmm. Battle for Slavery.
Okay.
I think.
I don't think Dany's coming back to Marine. I just want to put that out there at all. She's leaving Vostok Thrak on Drogon, and the next thing she knows, she's going to be in Winterfell. I think that may happen at the end of the season. I know.
Winterfell.
Not Winterfell. Westeros. Sorry. Thank you for correcting me. I was wrong. Alicia Kingston asked. Well, Alicia Kingston and Bill Copeland kind of asked relatively similar things. Where Bill Copeland asked, is Davos going to meet Sansa this season? And Alicia asked, Littlefinger in Cross? The fuck did I write? Cross. Where is Littlefinger in the snow? In the trailer, when you see Littlefinger in the snow. Littlefinger in the snow, in my opinion, he's going to come across Sansa because we're going to have to re-question. Sansa's going to have to re-question that situation. And really, he's their play back and forth. Both of them being kind to each other, but trying to manipulate each other. That's going to be interesting, and I think that we need that. And as far as Davos, I definitely think Davos and Sansa are meeting each other, only because they're generally going in the same direction. But if Sansa's going north, she's only going north for a split second. And as for go ahead. Oh, one last thing. I'll ask one third question, and we can answer all of these simultaneously. How do you predict Ramsay will die? That was you've been usurped, and I say Ramsay dies at Arya's hands. But I also have to retract that, because if Roose takes Ramsay, becomes Ramsay, and rapes Arya and gets killed by his own father, possibly the Night's King. I don't know.
Well, I'll say this.
Hold up.
I didn't understand that, what you said.
and Roose takes over Ramsay's body. We lost Niko. Roose takes over Ramsay's body. So Ramsay is killed by his father, Roose. So now Ramsay is really Roose. It's Roose in Ramsay's skin, so I'm going to call him Ramsay, but it's really Roose. So Ramsay, in my opinion, gets killed by his real father, the Night's King. But I don't know that, and the only reason that would happen is because the Night's King is using his children to get an heir that can warg. When he looks at his child, he sees a sinner. He sees somebody who's willing to do horrible things, and even though it's necessary to the cause, he's not a good guy. So he may get turned into a White Walker. That's what he ultimately does. I don't fucking know.
Well, I want to say this. I don't agree with your rape of Arya. I just don't think that's going to happen. But I think Roose has to live. And I think that Ramsay has to die ultimately if they're going to truncate the story for a number of reasons. Roose has been set up as being a very icy, almost white, not white, but almost a Night's King kind of guy. I think that we don't need Ramsay if we have an ultimate villain. It's Gray, but a villain as the Night's King. I think James was right all along. I think Roose is his progeny. So I think, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care what Ramsay does as long as he serves him in his army kind of way. I think Roose and the Night's King will be there at the end.
I think Ramsay kills Roose, and Ramsay's killed by Jon Snow.
If that happens, it'll be really interesting. We'll have to revamp everything. I like it. I mean, I don't know. I like it. Makes us smarter.
Jon Snow, the executioner, executes Ramsay.
I don't think so. I think it has to be done by hounds.
Okay.
That is the
I hear you, but we're trying to close this up. So,
shut up.
So what you said that you think Jon Snow execution? That was what you said.
Yeah,
Execution.
Jon Snow. If you really look at it, when it comes to big characters getting executed, that's the man to get it done. Jon Snow. They give him the big killing scenes. I can't see them taking that away from the hero of the show. You know, they got to give Jon that due.
Do you think that that'll be real Jon or whited Jon?
I got my own opinion on what's going to happen when Jon comes back, what's going to happen there. So it is Jon, but it isn't Jon, so we shall see what happens. But the body will be Jon, at least.
Tony, here's why I disagree with you. All the women in the show are going to be rooting for a woman to kill Ramsay. I'm telling you. He is a bad, bad person to women. We want women to take him down. And that's my statement. I'm going to unmute now.
All right, so is anybody else going to... Yeah, Niko, go.
Okay, so I'm sorry I had to call my love machine. So the thing is, it's going to be different in the show and the books, I think. And I agree with Tony on, again, what's going on? That they will probably give it to Jon Snow. But in the books, I can see where LaDonna is going, and I think it has to be done by dogs. Because the dog thing is just part of who Ramsay is. And I think it's going to be either Arya with Nymeria, or through Nymeria, or now that you mentioned Rickon with the Shaggy Dog, because Rickon is not going to die. He's the new Brandon Stark. You know, the Brandon the Wild Wolf. And he's going to rule the Winterfell, and this is how it's going down. So I think it's going to be different in the show and in the books.
Can we go?
Yep.
I would say you're right. It's probably going to be a dog, but it's Theon's role as the dog. Theon kills Ramsay. Yeah, Ramsay, and Ramsay kills Roose.
He owes it to him. Yeah, that's a good point.
I agree with Charlie and Tony. It's Jon. Yeah, it's Jon. Jon kills Ramsay.
All right.
You know,
yeah.
The last book was called A Time for Wolves. I think a wolf woman's going to take him down, and I think it would be karmic for Arya and Nymeria to take him down. And
although Sansa kind of owes it to him, too.
Yeah, but I don't. Not that she won't kill anybody, but it would be really karmic if her sister did it for her, not even knowing, but did it.
Ramsay in the book's a huge mug. It's a big dude. You know, it doesn't show it in the show how big he is. He's a big guy in the books. You know what I mean? So I don't know if a woman's going to be able to take that big dude down. You know what I mean?
She will if she's got Nymeria and a big pack of wolves.
I think that's the best, one of the best theories I ever heard made that you said there. So if that went down, I can't see that happen. I don't know if it's going to happen in the show, but in the books, I could definitely see that happen. I wish it would happen like that in the books, but
yeah, we all. I saw 1 million people fist bump when Brienne came into the scene. Imagine if Arya and Nymeria and a pack of 100 fucking wolves come in and take that guy down and just strip his skin off and eat him. It's a wrap.
I think a lot of the casual fans, if they see Jon Snow rip his shirt off and pull that long cord out, they'll start going crazy when they see him stab him and the blood splatter on him. Oh, Johnny!
That'll be good. That'll be great, but it won't be a metaphorical death, and metaphorical deaths mean more.
I hear you. I'm just talking about fans for the show. Just for the show, you know. Just trying to satisfy the people on the show. Charlie, when you put that hood on, I did not know who you were for a second. I thought someone else came in there. Hair. I was like, what is his hair? Who is that person with this hair on the side of his head? I
was looking.
I thought you really looked like hair, like it looked like hair hanging off the side of your head. I didn't know what was going on there.
He looks like something from Spinal Tap.
Now I'm starting to think you look like that Muppet, that dog Ralph.
Ralph.
That plays the piano. That plays the piano. That's the coolest one of them all.
All right. I think we're gonna close it out. Everybody want to say goodbye? Thank y'all so much for being here. We didn't keep it under 3. What is it? 3 hours? Yeah, 3 hours. About 3 hours. 7, 8, 9. Yeah. I think we did a good job.
Yes, we did, but we cannot do it under 3 hours, I think.
I love y'all. Have a good night.
Yes. Can we say something about the other things that we're doing? Tony, are we doing this on Sunday?
So if you want to talk about those things going on, yes, you can always catch the pregame, 6 o'clock, Sunday, Teflon TV. Please tune in. I'll have mostly of the small council members there, as many as I can fit in that want to come, and many other people from different channels. I do believe I have A Song of Ice and Fire, and Tinko Gesso will definitely be there this week too. So the first time appearance on Teflon TV. So please watch us on the pregame show on Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time until 8:30.
Be there.
Yes. Now I'm gonna plug in the Clash of Queens, guys. Check it out on Sweet YFT's YouTube channel. Just, I think I hear an echo. Can you mute yourself, guys? So Sweet YFT on YouTube. We are doing a Clash of Queens. So it's gonna be Anne. It's gonna be TeeBaby. And me doing the Clash of Queens. We answer your questions. So please make sure to be there. That's Saturday, 7 p.m. Central European Time. And, of course, check my channel. I'm going to edit the video and upload it soon on Tinafoil. So I have a new wall theory, and I think you're going to love it. So stay tuned. And my husband's coming.
Not yet. Wait till he gets here first. He's on the plane right now. Thank y'all for watching. It's a pleasure to have you, and it's a pleasure to have all of y'all here. We'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Bye. Take care, folks.